Verify.
I like to sing, dance, pretend, and I like to have fun. On you. Let's go over here. Just you and me. I just wanted to say,
Can we do more kazoo?
you're my special friend. I like to sing, dance, pretend, and I like to have fun. On you. Let's go over here.
Mouse.
Just you and me.
I'm gonna be using.
I just wanted to say,
Touch.
Can we do more kazoo?
you're my special friend.
All right. Sharing it on Twitter.
I like to sing,
So if you guys see it on my
pretend, and I like to have fun. On you. Let's go over here. Just you and me. I just wanted to say,
Can we do more kazoo?
I thought that the opening song would be perfect.
you're my special friend.
That opening song, though, man.
I like to sing, dance, pretend, and I like to have fun. On you.
totally
Just
avoid.
you?
But regardless of anything, like I said, is it gives everyone a platform.
I just wanted to say,
Talk about whatever. You know, it was an attempt. If they don't
Can we do more kazoo?
you're my special friend.
No, we will be starting
I like
soon.
to
Do
sing,
what you need to do.
dance,
Totally fine.
pretend, and I like to have fun, 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 fun. Hi. Love you. Let's go over here. Just you and me. Come on, come on. I just wanted to say,
Can we do more kazoo?
you're my special friend. I like to sing, dance,
Alright, I'm going to switch over to
and I like to have fun, 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 fun. Hi. Love you.
Hello guys! Alright, so, you know, we have Discord up and it'll actually be a little bit slow because my mouse batteries just died and I'm not going up to the store because I scheduled this. So, let me pull this up real quick. And right now, we're just going to look at this beautiful picture, you know. And we have a bunch of people in the general chat in Discord that I've posted a link down below. So if people want to come in and actually talk and try to have a good time and actually talk about their differences and or anything, then anyone's welcome. Now, I'll tell you this, is that I will be giving a couple people moderating abilities and wrenches in this stream. And whole thing is that there is some rules that I am implying and, like, just saying follow. One, just be a nice human being, no name calling, none of that stuff. Nobody's going to get banned here, nobody's going to get blocked, anything like that. We all just want to talk, have a good time, smoke a little, drink a little, chillax. So, if you get out of line, there is no, ooh, I'm in a ninja band somewhere. No, not here. We will, however, create a voting process where I'll literally go and state, hey, it's voting time. And anyone can actually hold a vote. So, people vote someone out and everything, say they're being a douchebag, then that's a different freaking story. That goes for anyone talking in the stream too. So, I gotta mind my P's and Q's. I could get kicked from my own platform and then muted. Then you'll see my mouth moving like this on screen. So, A lot of people muted right now in Discord. Who is going to be the first person to say hello?
Hey man, I guess my name's Dom. People call me Young Atlas on Twitter. Just figured I'd stop by just to see how this would end up going. Probably not going to talk too much. Really much more interested in hearing what other people have to say. So, bye everyone.
Oh, totally fine, man. Totally fine. I told everyone that even if they didn't want to talk, they could come and listen. You know, we have a couple other people.
Is there any excess noise right now?
No.
Okay.
But let's see. Excalibur posted in the general chat. Daily.parsec, Dark Ray, Star Wars, Skywalker theories. So, who else is in here, guys? Is everyone just AFK? Did I just start AFK? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people in the actual chat itself. Hey, Chronic Ops. Alright. Hello, Chronic Ops. Speak of the devil, I was just saying hi to you on YouTube land.
Hello.
How are you doing this wonderful evening?
I'm fine.
Well, it's a pleasure to actually meet your acquaintance. I've never really talked to you, so thank you for coming.
Hello, hello.
Jesse, hi. How you doing, buddy?
Just figured out how to get the voice back on there.
Yeah, I had to walk Diane through how to utilize Discord in the beginning. It was kind of, I was like, it's alright, it's this easy. And she figured it out relatively quickly. So, you're at work, I'm guessing?
No, actually, I'm not at work.
Nice, so we got your full attention.
Yeah, I'm here at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Well, you seem like a great person to start with, man. What brought you to this community as a whole?
Okay, before we get started, I have a weird problem because I have Discord open, obviously.
Yes.
And then I also have YouTube open, so I'm hearing like echoes.
Mute YouTube.
Alright.
Yep, mute YouTube, and you'll be able to hear everything that would be on the YouTube through the Discord.
Yeah, and I'll help you guys out. This is, I guess, Penny Lane on Twitter with the tech stuff. And then what I'll do is I'll just give you guys 3-minute notification. I'll set my timer when we're talking about stuff.
Oh, that's totally fine, man. I appreciate that. Keep things structured, all that good stuff.
Okay, so now I can hear what's going on and I don't have a repeat of everything.
Mm-hmm. So, first, I think, start with who you are and what brought you here to this crazy, twisted rabbit hole called the Truth Community, and what keeps you here.
Well, obviously the reason I even joined was because of some issues that my wife had, and I honestly had no ties to YouTube or Twitter or any of Discord or any of that. But I originally just created some accounts so that I could do a little bit of research and try to figure out what had happened to my wife.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, I guess I've been kept here by Thomas Schoenberger and his constant attacks via emails and social media platforms, and just honestly trying to get the truth out there about the things that have went on. And apparently along the way, I've met up with a few people, and a lot of people have told their stories of things that have happened to them, and it's just sickening.
Well, I have to agree, it is really sickening. A lot of the stuff that we see in social media in general, it's ridiculous. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have actually seen your stories, especially like on Able Danger and other people's channels, like Jethro put it on her channel. I'm actually going to throw your videos up on mine too. I got permission to throw up all the videos. So, it's really heartbreaking what happened. Like, it's kind of like reminiscent of what happened to me. I just kind of loved the puzzle, just loved the knowledge of the community in general. Became a leader in the community and got sucked into this bullshit, man. It's horrible how people's passions are used against them.
Well, exactly. And, the sad part is, they try to gain information about you, and then they literally try to flip the script and use it against you. I mean, Thomas has created so many crazy false narratives, not only about myself, my wife, but many other people on here. And then when you come at him with the truth and you actually post evidence that, what he's saying is lies, he just diverts somewhere else and constantly tries to point a finger at other people as the perpetrators.
Well, friggin' yesterday I was actually cruising Twitter, and I made a stream earlier just about Donna in general, and she came back and she started posting stuff about Jethro, and she posted up like a cute little Photoshop picture, which I zoomed in and saw freaking just irregularities in it, and I was like, dude, really? Come on, man. Post the actual freaking shit. Don't try to make it prettified because it looks like it's altered. And they say that we do that shit, and it's like, you look at my streams earlier on. And
well, I want to interject. I mean, this is a projection and deflections.
Yes.
So you're saying what, like with Jesse's story, right? Or a lot of the victims, is you have a situation where they're making up a narrative to suit their agenda, but they're deflecting their own deviance. So what they're saying is actually what they're doing. And I hate to say it that way, but when it walks like a duck and it talks like a duck, it might be a duck. And so with that being said, it's a very sad situation we have where there's individuals out there. Okay, mute.
You're breaking up.
No, my dog's freaking out.
And this is
I'm assuming you're not referring to Jesse. You're referring to TS the dude, correct?
Well, just the individuals in general. I've been you got to realize I started studying cyber deviance and cyberbullying back in, I want to say 2013. I was cyber revenge porn. My ex took photos of me without my knowledge or consent, put them on a adult swinger site. I discovered them a year later. Luckily, my situation with the doxing and what have you is completely different than most people go through when they're victims of revenge porn. Usually their information is posted online. At the time, the laws had not caught up to the crime. And so in 2013, I threw myself into the work of cyberbullying education, studying this heavily. So when I talk about cyber deviance, cyberbullying, cyber education, there is a poison going on online. And so if you study anything with like psychopaths, malignant narcissists, people that can have, where you can have a 24/7 anonymous factor, you can be online, say anything about anybody, and it's there. You got the you got these internet footprints. And, you know, I fear for those kids, you know, the ones that are in school right now, the little ones where anybody can say anything about them and they have no way of recourse. You know, back when I was in school, I could leave the schoolyard. But now we're in a situation where these kids can't leave the schoolyard. It's 24/7. And it's sickening to see adults and people that are even older than me behave this way. And the reason I'm here is, one, because I was in my conspiracy bucket, and then I saw somebody named Isaac Happy, I knew from New Mexico, ranting online, and I knew he was full of it. And so that's why I'm here. I've been very concerned with this whole group and who connects to who for a year. And it's the biggest cyberbullying deviance group I've ever.
No, I have to agree. I've been running like gaming communities and guilds online for like MMORPGs, stuff like that, for years upon years. Once in a while, you'll come across someone who's a sociopath and just fucks with people, you know? But I've honestly never came across to anything at this level. It's ridiculous. You know?
It's mind-blowing.
Yeah,
it's very mind-blowing because
it's coming from all sides. Like, this isn't... Like, I want to be clear. First and foremost, I want to be clear. This is not a crucifixion. You know, I'm not putting everything on Thomas. I'm not putting everything on him. I'm putting this on a group of people. And there's even people that portray themselves as good that I would throw in that group too. Doesn't mean that...
Well, it's a good cop, bad cop thing. Mm-hmm. Like, they play against you.
Yeah.
And so what they do here, and this is the psychology of it all, is they love to get in your head. They love to say, oh, I'm with you. But then you realize, oh, wait, they're part of that pocket. And, oh, wait, now they're in that pocket. What? And then it makes you go crazy. It's crazy making. Yeah. And it's just the most craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. But this is what cyber deviants do. Yeah. This is what, and I'm not, again, it's not saying everybody's a bad guy, because there's different pockets. But there's definitely a poison going on. And the reason I'm here is I want to create a dialogue on how you talk to people, how you respond, and what is appropriate, because there's different classifications of cyber deviance. So you have the bully, you have the victim, you have the victim bully, you have the innocent bystander. Yeah. And a victim can become a bully and vice versa. And so there is some sick things going on, you know, with this pocket, that some of these people may have started out as the victim and then said, F this, I'm going to, you know, and then they got crazy making with the gaslighting or whatever it is, where now they're the bully, if that makes sense.
No, that makes total sense, because you got to think, you can only be the hero for so long until you become a villain, and that's freaking in movies, that's in freaking literature, all that shit, you know? So, point is that there's wrongdoing on all sides, at least in my eyes, you know? Like, I try to be, like, detached from all the shit. I get sucked in myself on Twitter. You know, sometimes I get egged on, and then it's like, boom, troll mode activated. And I'm like, you know something, I'm going to troll you fucking truth. Does it make it right? No, it doesn't. It doesn't make it right on my aspect.
It's triggers.
Yeah, I get triggered sometimes.
Well, you know, and it's where you gotta kind of step back and say, is it worth my energy?
No,
is it worth my energy to really do this? And for me, it's more of I want answers from my friend and Cappy's family. That's where I'm coming from. I have no agenda. I work for God, and that's the only thing I work for. I work for my own self, kind of like you. You're like, I don't work for Defango. I don't work for Lestat. It's the same thing. You can't put me in a classification. Because, you know what, I like certain things about Lestat. I don't like certain things because, I mean, I've researched him too. I've researched all these people, you know. You don't think I have. And my concern is what I've seen, and this is not this pocket we're talking about, but there are certain individuals that are connected through other pockets that I've been monitoring for, you know, a good year. And it's concerning when you see their criminal history that is a mile long with stalking, harassment, you know, resisting arrest. And you realize that they're enlisting other criminals. So it's like, you know, like attracts like. It's really sick.
No, it really
If I could just say, actually, I think that you're right when it comes to the recruiting aspects. And I think that when all of us are speaking here and, after this, when stuff like this comes up, I think we actually need to really assess how all of us are kind of engaging this topic, because it looks like this is like an entire network of people. And when you give something a platform, whether it be for, good intention, bad intention, righteous intention, or evil intention, you're still giving that thing a platform. And, sometimes bad press is good press. And it looks like this network does seem to recruit people who are willing to jump in regardless of what kind of slander is really coming through. So I really think that we all need to be very careful when it comes to how we're talking about this stuff.
It is a network, and I agree. I'll explain something right now, that it's not just one group. It's not just one person. It is, from what I've seen and what I've wrote out and what I've been able to connect, it is a vast network. It's international, and it's not just somebody on the internet trolling another person or slandering another person. We're talking, this goes to cryptocurrency scams. This goes to the people that say they're saving the children, and they're actually down in, Central America with cryptocurrency and blockchain, and with a history of drug manufacturing on their court records. This is serious. This is criminal behavior. And it's not just the simple troll, person where you just give them a hard time or you're just talking, crap. It's criminal behavior is what I see. The data matches to criminal behavior. But they're the ones saying that we're the criminals or whatever, when I have no criminal history. Or some of these people don't have criminal histories, or like yourself, where you had something that happened to you when you were a teenager. And we're talking that was 15, 20 years ago. Yep. But these people have a history for the last 15, 20 years of doing things like this.
Unfortunately, regardless of whether you have a criminal history, obviously, I went and pulled my criminal history and posted it publicly that there was none. But yet, as recent as last week, Thomas was on social media claiming that I run several shell companies. Apparently I'm evading the tax man. He claimed that my wife had mental issues for decades, and even made the crazy accusation and threw a name out called, Montgomery Ward, an old store that used to be around. And
I used to be a skip tracer for Montgomery Ward. I thought that.
Well, and I honestly think the way he made the connection, Montgomery Ward, I used to work for Montgomery Ward as a teenager when I first met my wife. I worked there selling service contract. And so maybe on some old social media platforms that are still floating out around there, the service center I worked for, was in the news for being a top selling service center. And I probably posted stuff on whatever the other platforms used to be, MySpace and, whatever. So, in his way of supposedly investigating me, he's just pulling these random things from other social media platforms and trying to tie them together and push that narrative, which, there's JD Enterprises, and JD Entertainment and JD Rentals that he talks about. Apparently because I'm Jesse Davis, he figured that was me. Little does he know that Jason Debotowith, the guy that he named in these rants, is a real person locally here who runs a nightclub, who has several businesses locally, but, nothing illegitimate. I have no ties to any of those companies. But yet he posted that stuff everywhere. It's just crazy.
Well, Jesse, you got to realize the way I think some of this is happening with this group is you got a lot of people that either are critically thinking or being able to research, or they just believe things at face value, or they're deviants themselves, or they just lack an IQ. That's what I've concluded.
Well, it's amazing because, whether he wants to believe the fact that there's been FBI cases filed already, I'm actually looking into the violations of the the facility where my wife, where we took her for treatment, because of the fact that, they talked to Schoenberger, he either represented himself as a doctor, whatever the case is, they referred to him numerous times as Dr. Schoenberger, and he obviously did not tell them, hey, I'm not a doctor. And so,
Well, that is a violation of protected health information, aka PHI. Under the rules of the Health Information Portability and Accountability Act, aka HIPAA violations, we're talking, these are laws that if you were to report to HIPAA, they would investigate, because HIPAA is one of those things. And when I saw that, I thought it was him trying to say he was his brother. And his brother is a doctor, and that's very concerning for his brother that has to deal with this. I mean, how do you think he feel?
What's really weird about that situation is Thomas has made several different stories about that, trying to, deflect and claim he's innocent in it. And I said, even if the phone was handed to someone at that hospital, and even if my wife at the time, who obviously was having some issues, would have said, hey, I want you to talk to this guy, even if she said, Dr. Schoenberg or whatever, people, in all right, should have verified who this person was that they were speaking to. And now Thomas has used that to try to flip the script and not only use it against Pavana by making it out like, she's a crazy person, which is far from true. And he's also now using it against me and against me as a person in my business. So because they have spoke to him, he is using that to damage me financially even, which is ridiculous. And I literally had to come home to my wife, who was in a fragile state at the time, and I had to get her to fill out forms and sign forms just for me to be able to get the printed medical record. So for them just to get on the phone willy-nilly and speak to him was crazy. But Thomas sent me messages and emails claiming that he had Pavana's medical history and medical reports. And I said, well, Thomas, how could you even get those? Because I can't even hardly get medical records for my wife. And he said, well, did you forget my father was a doctor?
Yeah, his father was in charge. For everybody that is listening that may not know the backstory, his father was actually the head director of the American Heart Association. So, yeah, it's. I mean, when you looked at his background with his father, yeah, this guy was saving. I mean, cardiac doctor, man, saving people's lives. And then you look at his brother that is, highly qualified. And I feel so sorry for his brother, man. It must suck to have somebody like him slandering your name, trying to get the trust that he does not deserve, because of what he's doing. And, to go to this extent to cause harm and violate health violations. I work in the healthcare industry, and I build this stuff. I work with, general counsel on laws related to healthcare and healthcare violations. And what he has done is straight up violations of healthcare HIPAA and PHA rules.
Well, in the document that I shared a portion of it, you can clearly see that he basically told them she didn't need to be there. She just needed sleep to give her Xanax. So he basically gave them his diagnosis and his remedy. And what I didn't know at the time, and me and my wife have talked about this extensively, was the fact that he was actually on the phone with my wife while she was there, and he was communicating with her and telling her what to tell the facility so that they would not keep her there.
Yeah. And that is definitely the fact that he got into her head that much is showing, because it's not just your wife's example, right? There's multiple examples of history dating back years. But, when I got wind of going on with Thomas specifically. Initially, I wasn't really paying attention to him. I was looking at other people that he was connected to, but that name kept popping up. And one day, one week actually, I spent just researching, and it was very concerning, very, very concerning on what he has done. And all you guys that are listening, all you have to do is Google his name, and then what you do is you go into the tools and the settings in Google search, and you start searching by years going back, like 10 years, 15, 20 years. And then when you get about 5 years closer to, 2019, you start going by 6 months in his name and Napa Valley, and you do specific searches. You quote his name, Thomas Schoenberger, in quotes, and then you start looking, and you'll see what we're talking about. There's archived audio of his documented voicemail harassment. The extent of stuff I've seen and that has been documented on the internet is very concerning to anybody that may run into the person. And it's one of those things, he will switch on you. And I've seen it. And the group, he plays everybody, against each other. It's the sickest thing I've ever seen.
Well, what was amazing is, his first narrative when he came out, was that, my wife was looking for another man, whatever the case is, and then it switched again and again and again, and he acts like I was trying to hide the fact that my youngest son, who's actually an adult, called to try to seek help for my wife, for his mother. Well, of course he did. When you have someone who's been pushed over the brink, like she was by this group of people, obviously we wanted to get her help. So he kept throwing out that my son 5150'd her. He swore that was public record, yada, yada, which I found out it's not public record. So not sure where he got his info there either, unless it came from the facility. But, then he claimed that I wasn't trying to get help from my wife. Well, what the truth of the matter is when I took her in to get her help, and he was coaching her on the phone on what to say to try to keep them from keeping her there, they in fact let her go. They did what they called a psych evaluation, but the person who spoke to my wife and myself and my son was a social worker who works the front desk. Never once did a psychiatrist of any sort sit down and look my wife in the eyes and talk to my wife. And they sent her home with no diagnosis of any sort, no type of medication, no nothing. To this day, for Thomas to make his claims that she's got this major mental issue, to this day, she's still not diagnosed with any kind of a mental illness. As far as psychiatrist or anybody else goes, she literally was just drugged through a rabbit hole so deep and left down there to try to struggle to find a way out.
Yeah, it was a psychotic break. It had nothing to do with her mental state. Is that anybody that has a level head on their shoulders, for instance?
Yes.
If they were to run into individuals, we're not going to name names. But if they were to run into individuals that did what they did to your wife, it would be crazy making. It's called gaslighting. And what they did was they gaslighted her. They made her crazy because she didn't know what was true, what wasn't. And that's what this group does. And any malignant narcissist, any psychopath, any abused individual, it could be more susceptible to individuals like that. Mm-hmm. And even in my own personal life, it's that I'm more susceptible to the malignant narcissist. So I can see it a mile away. But when I'm in a situation like that might be a romantic relationship, I can't see the forest. And you got to realize a lot of people aren't privy and they're not on top of the technology to understand this. And so a lot of people are coming into social media and like your wife, being trustworthy. If people start talking, exchanging phone numbers, and then that's where the rabbit hole starts going in because they're starting to use your information. They got your phone number, and the next thing you know, you're dealing with doxing and the crazy thought.
Oh, exactly. And You know, Thomas literally, I sat and listened to a conversation where he told my wife, oh, you know, it's nothing, you just need sleep, you need Xanax, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then 5 minutes later, after he hung the phone up with her, he rings me on my cell phone, oh, you need to take her in right away. You know, she's having a psychosis, yada, yada. The dude was playing both sides. Now, he keeps claiming, well, hey, Jesse, you reached out to me, blah, blah. Well, the only reason, and I've stated it clearly, the only reason I even cared to even try to speak to this gentleman was because my wife seemed to be under their control, almost like she was brainwashed.
So she was brainwashed, and it was a spell.
Yeah.
So what I've noticed with this group, too, is they like to use a lot of occultism. And from my background, I study, you know, I've worked with Jesus. I think God put me on this earth in this situation with the whole Cappy situation, knowing him, and then to start talking to you. And I'm glad we're actually having a conversation right now, because I think for my own situations when I've been depressed and I've been in that situation where life has been bleak, and I've gotten to that point, you know, I realize now why I'm here talking to you. And why I'm here helping the survivors. Let's not call us, you know, your wife a victim of it. Let's call her a survivor of it.
And that's what I told her. You know, a lot of people don't have someone around that's going to spend, you know, it was a good 6 months just trying to get in to see an actual psychiatrist here in our community. And I mean, you know, I've told her, to be totally honest, there were times because of the fact that, you know, they basically kept pushing singularity. Forget about your past, your past life, you know, in general. And
doesn't it sound like a cult? It sounds like a cult.
I said Scientology myself is what I said.
Well, there's the Scientology component, and then I've been working with a girlfriend, and getting into the John of God cult right now. But I was talking to a guy this weekend, and he says, just push them into the cult. They're going to have to learn. And it's sad to say it, but some people just don't want, you can tell them and scream left and right that you're in a cult, dude, you're in a freaking cult, and they'll still not get it. And it's until they have to those, or they end up off a bridge.
Well, and it was the really hard part to understand about all of this is, you know, the night before her actual, as I call it, a breakdown, the night before her breakdown, when I went to bed, you know, everything seemed, you know, relatively normal. And the next day I went to work, and I received a call first from my daughter, who at the time was 16. And my daughter said, hey, something's wrong with Mom, you need to come home. And my instant thought and my first thing to the daughter was, look, if you guys are having an argument over something stupid, just walk away. You know, I'll be home when I get home. Well, then my wife's brother happened to be here at our house, and he called me. He said, look, you need to come home. And I came home, and I'll be totally honest, it's I can't even explain what was going on. And it was like something after I had went to bed that night. And this is why I refer back to MK Ultra, because something triggered her to be pushed over that edge that evening after I went to bed within a, 6-7 hour period. And she was not the same person when I came home that she was when I went to bed that evening and said goodnight to her. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it was unbelievable. And unfortunately, there are people out there that don't have someone that is, number one, willing to stand by their side through something like that. And a lot of people aren't capable of it because they can't deal with it. I only reached out to Thomas, as I said, because I felt like she was being controlled by him. And then Thomas brought in DJ Genki, DeFango, and another person that he claimed was a friend of his. Mm-hmm. But Thomas was the one that led my wife to a person that, if you research this person online, they're supposed to be an awakening coach. And I believe this person is more of a cult master. And
well, let me explain something. What you're saying here, and this is what kind of triggered me on some stuff I had a conversation about 2 or 3 days after Cappy passed with a buddy of mine in New Mexico. He ran into the brother of Cappy a couple weeks before he went off that bridge, and he told me some really cool stories, but he did tell me the story where the brother was like, I don't know what's happened with Isaac. Like, he's lost it. He's into these conspiracies. And from what I gathered with my friend was that he was ostracized from the Cappy family. Probably didn't think he could, reach out to them. He was so sucked into this cult thought process, and he was probably gang stalked to death, is what I think. Because, I mean, from what I witnessed, and then also seeing where, the crazy making, like your wife, and it haven't not been for you figuring it out, but normal lay people like us or my friends that are like, whoa, they're blown away with this whole Cappy situation, and I'm having to talk to them. It's easily like, you don't wrap your mind around it when you're going home and like, oh, do you guys get in a fight kind of thought process. You're not thinking about this whole thing. Like my friends just, had it not been for, my friend's friend dying, and me witnessing it for a year and seeing how it led to his death, I would not be, they would have just thought it was a suicide,
Unfortunately, I didn't know a whole lot about the whole Cappy situation. I don't really know many people in the online, even the people in here in the chat. I mean, I just literally came onto the scene in September of 17, which is when, my wife had her breakdown. Yeah. And I started researching, and originally it was just Thomas, Genki, DeFango, Lestat, and Brother Box. And Thomas was pointing fingers at Brother Box, and he had my wife so freaked out over Brother Box that even the mention of the name Brother Box would bring out a really odd reaction. Almost like she felt like the guy was going to kill her or something. So, I mean, he had pointed the finger at so many different people. And, Thomas can claim all he wants about the contacts me and him have had. I've told him online, I'm sure people have seen some of the comments on YouTube, where I said, Thomas, share every email we've ever exchanged. I have not emailed to contact him. He always hits me with emails like Christmas Day, 20-some emails, making threats, and I've told him, sue me in court, post all the emails you want. I'd be happy to share every email that I've gotten from Thomas. I don't have a problem with that, and all my responses to him, because as I've said, I have nothing to hide. I'm not trying to build a viewership on YouTube, and I'll be totally honest, I think, if Thomas was taken out tomorrow, I don't know how much time I would even bother to spend on YouTube and Twitter anymore. Because it wasn't a part of my life at all. And the only reason it became a part of my life is because he caused very serious harm to my wife and my family as a whole. And my goal is not to, be a stalker or in any gang or anything of that nature, but I really want to make sure that this man and the group that he is involved with are not allowed to cause anyone any kind of harm like that again. I mean, it was utterly sickening, and I'll be honest, I didn't work for months because I was literally afraid my wife would take her own life.
Okay, so we have some new people in here. Now, let's see. Chronic Ops is in the house. Fozzie, the frickin' fuzzy bear, is in the house. Hail Hillia. Dowd, Jethro's here. Say hi, Jethro.
Yo.
Yo. Then everyone knows. Just me and Jesse. Nomad, which is Penny Lane. Diane is here too. Say hi, Diane.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Diane.
Yep, and then we're going to be saying watchers. Watching watchers. Cool.
Hey, I'd like to introduce something to the chat. I think that this might be a little bit bigger than everybody thinks it is. Let me just post a court document here real quick. If we could all actually just take a quick look at the chat here. It's actually going in. There we go. Oh, it seems as if the chat keeps deleting this message. That's strange.
The Jones versus
A
Clinton.
web page, take where it goes, blah, blah, blah.com, and replace the period with the word doc.
Here we go.
So if someone could please post that, and if we could just take a look at it as a group,
Are you
I'd
talking about
actually
the court
appreciate
listener? The free law project?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Alright, yeah, I can put that on screen real quick. Because I
So
did
I
tell
am,
everyone, just so you know, I did tell everyone that this is a free-flowing thing. It's not just dedicated to one subject, so. Here we go, it's on the screen, man. Explain what we're looking at.
Okay, so let's take a scroll down, and we'll notice that the case is Jones v. Clinton. The district court is in Arkansas, and it was filed July 29th, 1999. As we continue to take a look down at the first paragraph of names, if we take a look at the second line of names, and I actually see Stephen Scott Biss here.
I mean, he doesn't really know why, because that's the only game he has on.
We're talking about
Are we all looking at this?
It's gotta be the internet, I would think.
See, I can't quite actually confirm if this is the Stephen Biss. However, I find this to be really very interesting. I was just looking up Stephen Biss, because I think that he might be an interesting character that we should be taking a look at. And I'm not sure if this document here is alleging that Stephen Biss was one of Clinton's lawyers. I'll be honest, I'm really not smart enough to, nor do I have the time really to take a look at this entire document, but I think that this is something that might want to be reviewed. This seems something that might be of really great interest if Stephen Biss was defending Clinton in this lawsuit here. That might tie Stephen Biss to Clinton, who is also tied as this Jeffrey Epstein case is breaking out. We know that Clinton is tied to Epstein, and that Epstein was tied to the Iran-Contra group. He was running around with a lot of the people in that faction we know as MEGA. And I think that that might be a point of interest that needs to be researched. I just wanted to add my 2 cents here.
This is actually really
I'd suggest looking at this very closely.
Oh, definitely. I'm gonna have to freaking look into this shit. Now, I'll tell you guys something, like, right out of my mouth, is that as soon as Biss and his wife got brought up in the truth community, like, I witnessed a shift. Everyone broke apart. It's like, they got mentioned, then Defango started fighting Lestat. Lestat started fighting Defango. They ended up fighting Thomas, and everyone just started fighting each other, and I just found that to be the weirdest fucking thing ever. Especially since it was shown that certain individuals, specifically Tanya, was giving money to other people. So I started questioning it and was like, wait a minute, this is really weird. So this is interesting.
I don't want to allege anything because I have not reviewed this document entirely. However, I feel that it's very interesting that Stephen Biss is showing up and may possibly even be defending Clinton in this. So I think that this is something that really needs to be looked at.
Yeah. No, I'm going to definitely read this. I'm glad you actually shared this. This is, it might be totally irrelevant, but then again, it's freaking, it's like crazy shit. If it's into the
I think it's something that's worth being reviewed. Now, I think that targeting the truth community, that there's a lot of different outcomes that can be resulted from doing this.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is no shaming anyone. You know, I think that sometimes people end up in the truth community because they feel that the system has failed them, and sometimes that is correct, and sometimes I think that people have a hard time accepting their own failures and feel the need to blame something else as sort of a way to kind of deflect responsibility and avoid reflecting on their own actions and the need to change.
Yes.
I think that violating this community with people who, have these issues, they're already very malleable because they're kind of really looking for really any answer. And, people in this state may be more susceptible to information that may be more wild or crazy because they really are looking for any reason to feel that it may not, necessarily be their fault. And, this is just speculation. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a sociologist. I'm just some dumb weeb who kind of thought Cicada was really interesting back in 2015, 2016. And, I got to be honest, I can't even say I really got involved in this stuff because I've honestly kind of just stayed away from all this stuff, very, very far away from all this stuff. But I think that this case file needs to be reviewed, and I really think that other things that Stephen Biss, if he is involved in this lawsuit, and it's the same Stephen Biss, like I said, I don't want to allege anything until this is actually vetted and really looked at. I don't think that anyone should really be jumping to conclusions at all until this is really researched. But I think that we should also be taking a look at maybe what other cases Stephen Biss was involved in, if he's involved in any other political atmospheres.
Didn't he lose a bunch of cases?
To be honest, I do not know.
I've heard rumors that he lost a bunch of cases. I never really dug into him because, honestly, he's never been in my inbox and or my emails or anything. Now, I will state that Tanya was tagged in so many emails, claiming, Thomas was claiming she was his legal aid or legal representatory aid type deal, and that he was forwarding all of his stuff to her and everything. And I was like, dude, stop. Because he'd switch from CCing her, thinking I'm not going to look up and see that he took her off. So I was actually sending her the missing emails, being like, here, if you are him, here you go. You can have these too. Just so you know, he's fucking with me. I'm telling him, leave me alone. Fucking A. But the same thing with the Ryan Stokes officer that DeFango ended up talking to, man. Is that Christmas Day, when Jesse was freaking getting attacked, I ended up getting barraged by freaking emails with him being tagged. And Ryan Stokes got freaking sick of it, and he sent me an email separate of Thomas saying, get a hold of this number here and try to make a report. I did, and since I was out of state, they wouldn't let me make a fucking report. But the cop actually did reach out and state, call. So, I just find this all fucking crazy and funny, and because how does this go unnoticed? Like, it's such a big level, because if you look at the YouTubers, like the big YouTubers that are surrounding this community, like, all these people have their tendrils into these channels, and I'm talking about millions of people are watching all these videos. So, it's fucking craziness.
I dropped a photo into Discord that's tangentially involved with this discussion and caused a lot of attention when I posted it on Twitter.
Alright. Here, do you guys care about me being transparent and bringing the Discord chat in here and everything? Or do you guys want me to leave the Discord thing off? I leave it up to you guys.
I don't mind.
Alright, because you can just totally block anyone who decides to do anything like that or create a new account. It doesn't matter. But take this off and ooh, pretty picture. Here we go. And
can you hear me again?
Yeah.
Because I was okay. I don't know what's going on with my phone. What I was going to say is, if you guys look on the Devin Nunes and you look for Stephen Scott Biss, there is a case that he handled. And he lost his lawyer license through the bar through Virginia. There's a lot of connections. There's a lot of connections that I've seen with that lawyer specifically, and the funneling of money through YouTube Super Chat. And it's very concerning. And it makes me think, just as, concerned citizen, is where's the money going to? To pay off an agenda through like Titus Frost, because you see money coming from his wife, and he's starting to spin a narrative which connects to this group.
Now, I'm going to leave the Discord thing up so that people who are not actually on the chat itself, if they want to interject and or type in the chat itself, in fact, I'll make a separate one instead of general chat, because this is just a fresh server. You can scroll up and see that it was just made. But, here we go. I'll make a new chat type deal. There we go. Stream chat. Post anything related. And now, Iconic Ops, I'm showing the picture that you were referring to. Do you want to explain this?
I took it on the way to I guess a location that is of interest to Thomas, several of his associates, and the topic at hand.
Yeah, I saw that post, actually, when you posted this picture, and they ended up freaking reading pretty hard, and I didn't even understand it. But I've been watching you for a while. I've literally been following your statuses because I'm on the same search as you, man. I'm trying to figure out what the hell I got dragged into, what the fuck's going on, because for some reason, people in the community saw me as some sort of leader when it came to the freaking Cicada puzzles. So I just feel it there's wrong being done to the community, man. A lot of people are being sucked in, and they continue being sucked in, so something's got to give.
Well, I took my Twitter down because I don't want to be fighting or playing little games.
Yes.
I mean, I can win those battles, but I'd rather win the war.
Oh, that makes total sense, man. I'm glad that you actually explained the leaving Twitter, because I had a couple people ask me if I knew why you left, and I'm like, I don't even know you. We haven't even freaking really talked.
Yeah, I think I've stated several times I'm not associated with anyone. I'm sure my presence here is just going to raise hackles or whatever, but like I said, I left because I was getting entwined in these smaller battles, and I'm trying to win the war. And I should also state that trip and the war, Thomas is not the target.
Oh, I'm pretty sure that
I
he
agree.
is the top. I'm pretty sure that he's not top. He's like low management, man. And like, that's
agreed.
That's what we're facing is low management. If these people probably wanted to ruin all of our lives, they couldn't freaking snap of a finger. There's no doubt in my mind, because there's a lot of interesting characters.
I've seen the hidden hand, man. I've seen the hidden hand, and you don't mess with the hidden hand. But I'll tell you
how many times, how many different people have I been doxxed as unsuccessfully?
Everyone.
Well, I'm Able Danger from what I heard. Dude, I'm everybody. I just have a confession to make. I'm everybody.
Yeah.
Wrench in the post stream. All right, I'll put it that way.
Freaking A, man. It's crazy. Like, I've been Assad. I've been freaking like 5 different people that I wasn't. People are being blamed as being me. I'm sitting back like chilling out with my girlfriend thinking, the fuck, I'm not even a part of this shit, and you're throwing me into the narrative like I'm some sinister Bond villain or something. Like, shit.
You know what I find funny one of the most frequent slanders that he uses is, I don't want to say the word, but it involves children.
Yes.
And I think that, obviously, that's not a funny topic, by no means whatsoever. But I do think that, if he talked to, the people that he's accusing of this and tried to have a relationship with these people, like if he's the all-knowing, all-seeing master of, Cicada, I just think that it's funny that he associated with people who he claims do that kind of stuff. I just think that that's hilarious. Like, if you're supposed to be the leader of an almighty, secret society, I just think that it's hilarious that, you're talking to all these people who do that and you're only comfortable talking and saying those things after you're not doing, you're not dealing with those people anymore in whatever capacity you were previously dealing with them. So I just think that that's funny, that's always that thing. It's like, if people really were all that, and everyone really was doing that, it's like, then why were you talking to those people that were doing all that? Yeah. How come you're surrounded with so many people who have been accused of that you're accusing? And I just think that that's kind of a little funny. Yeah. Of course, the topic that I'm talking about, obviously, is absolutely not funny. I just think that sometimes sociopaths don't really look necessarily into the future. I think that sometimes, and like I said, I'm not an expert in any of this stuff. I'm just a dumb weeb who finds this stuff interesting. But I do think that it's just very funny that sometimes in my experience with sociopaths, they'll just deflect, whatever it is that they can deflect, that sounds like the worst thing that they can really say, and something that will also, feed their own ego. So I just think that sometimes some of the things that he says, maybe they're not particularly as calculated as, he would, chalk them up to be. Mm-hmm. I think that sometimes they're very reactionary, and I think that his use of using that term to accuse people, I think that that's very, very, honestly, very sloppy. And one of the things that genuinely very upsets me is some of, I don't know what to call them, the cronies that he runs with, I guess.
Flying monkeys. Let's just stop them flying monkeys.
That's fine. I spoke to one of them on the phone a while ago, and I think this was maybe about in January or February. Mm-hmm. And I spoke to him about my personal experience with TS, and I had explained to him what had happened, and I had saw that this person was involved with TS, and I, at the time, thought that person had done good work. And I had told him, I called him on the phone, and we had maybe it was about a 10-minute phone conversation about my experience, what happened, and what happened to my family. And he said, I'll take note of that. I appreciate it. And, I sent him the screenshots of him harassing one of my family members, yeah, and all the whole 9 yards of everything that happened to me.
Yes.
And, this person still is going on and deflecting, saying this entire thing is a setup. And I think that that's very, very interesting. Mm-hmm. Some of his people that kind of really, brush off as innocent, are, saying that this is all set up. It's really very eye-opening to personally hear that, because the thing is, and I don't want to share any names because I don't want to stir the pot. I'm not here to stir the pot. I'm not here to throw people into the bus. Yeah. But I can personally say that I have spoken to one of the people that he has worked with, and what it looks like for some time now, and to see that person just immediately deflect whenever there's anything bad said about them, mm-hmm, it's become really completely apparently clear to me that these people, either they're on payroll or they're being promised something. It's very, very interesting.
No, it is very interesting, like all this stuff. I never thought that I'd be intertwined with any of this type of stuff, because I stayed away from YouTube, man. Only thing I did was I watched secure team videos, That's it.
When will law enforcement be brought in on this? I just keep hearing all of these terrible, what appear to be crimes, and there seems to be no legal action.
That's the thing, is that I've actually filed FBI reports.
Can I interject about this? I've actually Can you hear me? I've actually talked to law enforcement. I'm dead serious. I spent about 30 minutes on the phone with the Secret Service recently, but I've also talked to FBI officials. This goes back to the Fiona Barnett days, before she got ran off of Twitter. They said that, one, it's going to take some time to build a case. Okay. So they are paying attention is what I'm gathering. Okay. But with my credentials and when I speak up, people listen. Now, I reached out to law enforcement right after Cappy passed away. And this is dead serious. I'm not bullshitting. I could give a fuck less about this group. I just don't like assholes on the internet. Sorry, Lynn, I need to filter my words. I don't like people that are deviant, effing people that go around doing this kind of thing. Yes. And when I see somebody that I know personally off himself off a bridge, I'm going to step in. And I've been in the dark, like behind the scenes for a while. Now, if I come out to play and I have a background in IT and I step foot in Facebook London for a cyberbullying competition, for anybody that's listening that thinks I'm lying, I got photo evidence, invites for a cyberbullying competition as Team USA, where I mentored 2 little girls on solutions to cyberbullying. And when I see what's going on the internet, and I see somebody I know personally pass away, I'm dead serious. I will make sure this never happens. And I'm glad we're having this conversation, but this triggers me so much. And I will get answers. I will get answers for his family, and his family is sure paying attention. You don't think I didn't send any of those accusations that I'm like the killer of Cappy? That's messed up to be accused of something where I'm helping his family. Do you think they're not paying attention? Of course they are. They are listening. They are watching. And we may not get him on the death of their brother, their son, but we will get him and anybody that is connected to this group of gang stalkers arrested. And there will be justice. And yes, law enforcement is paying attention. There's my rant.
So if law enforcement is paying attention, what's something that concerns me then is that nothing has been done. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that needs to be looked in deeper. That is what concerns me too. So
I mean, why is it dropping? You see the stuff happening all the time where they're catching these, 8chan shooters, but it is very concerning. And I've talked to people in the former CIA, and from what I talked to people in the federal level that say we just don't have the manpower. I actually talked to somebody that worked in the CIA that I work closely with, and they said to me just recently, that they do have the equipment, and they do have the technology to get after these guys. And that's where I go in. Like, why isn't this happening? Maybe there's bigger places, bigger players involved.
Unfortunately, I have dealt with the FBI on more than one occasion. I sued my local city here for RICO violations for racketeering. And I spent 5 years in court. I compiled 177 gigabytes of documents, recorded phone calls, videos. At one point in time, the state police had called me and said, we want you to burn all your evidence to an external drive and bring it to us to store it off your property. So when I took the evidence down to the state police post a couple towns away, they had an FBI agent there, and we spent 2 hours going through what was, on this hard drive and talking about the thing. The FBI agent literally, as he was getting ready to leave, he said, look, I'm going to be totally honest with you. He said, number one, we won't notify you of the progress or how things are going. He said, and I will tell you this, it's unfortunate, but we move at a turtle's pace because we want to make sure that all our T's are crossed and our I's are dotted before we convene a grand jury to look for indictments.
And I agree, because from what the Fed guy told me is that, because there's another pocket that I was told to look into that connects to the Bundy Ranch stuff. We're talking the militia stuff with the characters that are involved there. Now, to connect the dots, like for me to go up there as just a concerned citizen with all the documents, all the evidence, all the data, right? it has to be, the T's have to be crossed. And that's the thing, is that you have to have the timelines. And this is what I'm going to say to anybody that's been a victim or that is in the situation where we're talking right now. Make sure you have those timelines. Make sure you list out everything. Make sure you know and you cross everything. Because when it comes time, when you talk to these federal officials, they're not tech savvy. They're not going to know what you're talking about. And you literally have to put it in layman's terms for a 3-year-old, if that makes sense.
What about the Department of Homeland Security? I understand that they have some jurisdiction over this.
I reached out to my NSA people I know too. I've reached out to a lot of people. I've been screaming from left and right about these people. And this is going back a year when I got wind of all this stuff.
May I
who knows
interject
what they're
afterwards?
doing? Yeah, I'll shut up now.
No, please. I appreciate it. So if law enforcement is moving at a snail's pace, one of the things in reference to, let's say, the Jeffrey Epstein case that really lit a fire under the public's ass was the Miami Herald expose of Jeffrey Epstein. That really shook the American public. And what if we start taking factual information? We can't obviously run with anything speculative whatsoever.
Yeah.
What if we start moving towards journalism?
I've been doing that. I'm basically the gatekeeper with all these people across the board, not just here locally, but internationally. I've reached out to a few people, victims of cybercrimes too, that are news reporters, and we can talk later off this stream. But I have emails that you guys can reach out to talk to the persons that I know across the country that are in national news. And one person specifically I can think of right now that had a story that hits close to home for me that I think would probably be able to help us. And if not them, maybe somebody they know. But this is a big news person that I've talked to over the past couple of years. And I think that might be what we do. I mean, that's what you get. You can't give all the cards away, people. But, it definitely, there's enough connection that I can get to you guys if you want to. We just got to disseminate it into a logical thought process in layman's terms for these people. It's the same thing what I was saying with the Fed level.
Yeah, and I mean, citizen journalism is something that would work very well also. Obviously, we need to be responsible with any of the information that we're disseminating. It needs to all be sorted, sourced.
Sorted, categorized.
Yeah. But I really think that this Stephen Biss case that, we need to see if he was defending Clinton. Like I said, I'm not 100% sure.
I looked at the court docs. He was, I think that was probably one of his earlier cases when he was doing what was it? It wasn't, it was during the sexual harassment cases. And I know which one you're talking about. I'll have to pull the stuff that me and some researchers have actually pulled up. But we have a lot of intel on Stephen Biss.
Yeah, so let's follow that. Let's take a look at more of his cases. Let's see if he's involved in any other cases. I know that there's a lot of cases going around right now, and I think that maybe we should take a look and see what else he's involved. Let's see. Well,
Devin Nunes. There was a recent one with Devin Nunes.
Can you elaborate on that? And please use as much detail as you can. And when you're speculating. Yeah, when you're speculating.
I'm not speculating.
No, that's fine.
This is from the Fresno Bee from April of 2019. I just Googled this. So Devin Nunes' lawsuits put spotlight on his attorney's suspension, GOP defamation. This goes into his...
Let me stop you just for a second so people can follow. Why don't you post that so the people who are watching...
Yeah.
Fantastic. Continue, please.
Okay, so this is, Stephen Biss, there's a lot of stuff he has his hands in. It's kind of, I think these things are fascinating, man. I'm not on the stream chat. My freaking computer, just repost it for me, please.
Yeah, so let's just put a hold on this, just so people can follow, and then once it's posted, then we can dive on, and I want to make sure that people are able to follow along.
Why don't you read through this, Lone Cicada? Why don't you look at that, Bobby, and read through it?
Do know some stuff about this.
And I can actually pull up more stuff, I think, while you do.
I'll read it while
This
you guys
claims to
continue.
specialize in defamation cases.
Yeah, he's a defamation lawyer.
And in the Jason Goodman case, he's suing on behalf of Robert David Steele, but Trish Negron is also one of the defendants. Jason's going pro se, but Trish Negron spent considerable sums. Both she and Jason have assets. He's saying that they defamed him on multiple live streams and it ruined his unrigged campaign. Him and Jason got into a big bust up after the Port of Charleston hoax. It was really within 24 hours. The following morning, RDS said, "I want nothing to do with you." And in the previous show, Jason had asked his crowdsource audience to donate to the Unrigged campaign, and he then turned around and told his audience to ask for the money back. So it created like just a complete shitstorm of people, canceling credit card transactions. RDS claims that it ruined his Unrigged campaign, but that's impossible to prove. But interestingly enough, Jason is representing himself. I don't know who gave him this idea, but he accused Biss in one of the recent filings of something called barratry, which would be drumming up lawsuits, sort of slip and fall. So you have the things that DeFango released on a live stream, maybe even 2 live streams, when he was giving up all those emails for the deposition. And it turned out that Tanya Biss was giving money to some of these channels and sort of encouraging them in collusion with RDS behind the scenes to push them to ever greater heights of trutherism. And then I guess when the person really stepped in it, it could be argued. I'm not saying I agree with this, but he's trying to say that people were sort of set up and then, turn around and sue them. Okay. So yeah, I don't know whether I believe that or not, but that's just something for everyone to consider. He is the guy from the Clinton case.
Well, that's pretty damn interesting.
So let's take a stop there real quick. So if Stephen Biss is involved with the Clintons, it's very obvious that the Clintons are involved in Iran-Contra. I'm not saying whatsoever that Stephen Biss is involved in Iran-Contra, but then it's safe to say that then perhaps Stephen Biss might be involved with people in the government, perhaps maybe even other people in the government that may be trying to subvert the truth, I guess, for lack of better terms. So I think that we really need to take a really deep look at Stephen Biss. Maybe we can create a forum, somewhere, where we can pull together maybe a bunch of his cases and take a look at maybe some of his current cases and see if we could find a pattern. And if that already exists, maybe we can post that in the chat. And,
stuff in the Discord.
We can discuss.
We've been
Yeah, I'm sorry. You'll have to excuse me. To be honest, I have been largely out of this drama. Personally, I've been very, very invested in researching the Iran-Contra scandal and the Jeffrey Epstein case. Whitney Webb from Mint Press News actually ended up releasing a 4-part series about this group that we're speaking about. And it actually is very, very, very interesting information. It's very interesting information. So I think that if Stephen Biss is tied to even just a very few amount of these people, I think that we need to then take a look at some other cases that he may be involved in, and maybe some other people that he may be involved in.
Hey, Truth Convoy, you're more than welcome to join in here if you want. I don't know if you have Discord. Like I tried to tell you, is that I don't have any problem with you. Friggin' just I know that things got heated in email, but then again, I don't know anything that you're looking into, and yeah. But you're more than welcome to join as well if you have anything to say based on any subjects that we talk about. Alright, go ahead.
Well, I'm sorry, but my time's up. This has been very revealing. I appreciate your time. You all have a nice evening.
You have a very nice evening as well, man. See you later.
Thanks, Chronosops. Good to meet you.
Yeah, thank you, Chronic. Like, you've been amazing with your research. I appreciate you.
I know I haven't been very vocal, but I appreciate you as well, man.
This Stephen Biss, he's the lawyer that Thomas has spoke about. I believe DeFango has spoke about this. He's the guy from Virginia that DeFango thought his wife sent the police to SWAT him in Arizona, correct?
Yeah. I think that might be it. I remember hearing about that, but I'd have to actually look into that video and see what it was actually said.
Also, I've had I don't know if it's the base, but I've had a lawyer looking into where I am. Someone sent me something, and they were trying to find out whether I was a man or a woman, whether I was in London, all these different types of things, for no reason really, other than I don't agree with what Thomas is doing.
Well, that's why I say, freaking, keep your nose clean and everything. Everyone needs to keep their nose clean. This is just really kind of an, like, crazy fucking thing that's just, like, thrown together. And, yeah. No hard feelings either, Truth Convoy. I know how it is sometimes, freaking. I go off too sometimes.
Well, I think it's, I think we're all coming from different backgrounds, right? Mm-hmm. We may not, agree with each other on, like, say, political beliefs or things like that, but we're all banding together for this deviance, this poison that's on the line, the concerning things that we're seeing online, the victims. I've talked to probably 15 to 20 victims of all these pockets. Mm-hmm. We're not just talking this little pocket we're talking about. We're talking about other people I've reached out to, and they tell me their stories, and I'm just flabbergasted. I sit back going, I have the ability to help and assist others, but then I also look at the whole situation of this is very concerning. One, these mofos need to be arrested. Then two, where is society going wrong where this is acceptable? And I'm glad that you all are standing up. We're banding together and saying this is not acceptable. This is not how you behave online. And whatever you're trying to do with your little games, we're not going to have it anymore. And it's all fun and games. It's all LARPing games until, somebody goes off a bridge in May.
Unfortunately for everyone who is willing to step up and speak out about it, there are several people who are not. I mean, I received, after the first video went out on Able Danger, I received email from 2 people within the first 2 days of that video going out. And one person talked to me about their son who took his life. They had ties to the Cicada group, or puzzle, I should say, and TS, and another person reached out to me that basically almost lost their child. And
Jesus.
I was hoping that they would both be willing to share their stories, and I asked them about that, and they said no, they didn't want to get their name or their story involved because of the stalking and harassment that they had already went through. So unfortunately, there's probably a lot of stories that we won't know about, but it just amazed me how quickly numerous people can attack you all at one time. And I think I shared it in a short video. At one point in time, I basically came on, and obviously I was very angry about everything at the onset of this. And so I came out, any YouTube thing I saw about Cicada or Tangri 137, I immediately, posted, oh man, it's a hoax. That's, they're leading people down these death holes and things of that nature. And I had just joined Twitter and YouTube, and I shared a meme. I captured a meme and shared it on my Twitter page, and immediately I got attacked by mind-inspired and several other females that were involved with Thomas, and Thomas himself, saying that I was stalking these people. And I was like, what do you mean stalking? I shared a meme, and if that's so terrible, I'll take it down, whatever. And they've never let loose of that. Well, then when I made comments about Cicada and Tangri being a hoax and a LARP, next thing I knew, I was being attacked savagely by Defango. And this was before he came out with his expose on Thomas. And he was still obviously involved at that point in time. And then Mind Inspired joined in on the attack, and a few other different people. And I mean, it was just crazy. And, it got to the point where, they were making comments like, oh, if you ever see me on the street, this and that, and I'm sure you'd run anyway. I mean, it was literally just crazy. And then Thomas most recently posted a video called Death that more or less was, pointed at me, obviously. You could tell by his description and comments, but yet he claimed it wasn't a threat, So it just amazes me how quick these people jump on and react, and how quick they stalk someone.
Yeah, the Mary Magdalene account wasn't. We found out that it wasn't mind inspired. She had a different name. It was similar, but it was a different account. So you're right on that. Yeah.
Well, the other part is it almost sometimes looks like, some of these accounts that we look at and we believe are sock accounts, and then, several people will come on and go, oh, no, that's not them, it's not them. But it almost, if you look at the verbiage and the way things are phrased, it's got to be that person speaking. So I seriously sit back and wonder if they literally don't pass accounts around and share them.
I'm back, guys. Sorry about that. I had to go run and get something to drink, and dinner's almost ready.
I
But
think
when you
one thing-
look, sorry, go on, Diane.
Oh no. Oh, I was just wanted to. I do think that we have to be careful that there's a bit of a double-edged sword, where I think the whole overall purpose of what they're doing is to lead to internet censorship, and in a weird way, they could almost be trying to make us bring it on. So I think we have to be careful. You know, we don't want the unacceptable behavior going on where people are larped to death, you know, literally.
Yeah.
However, you know, we have to be cautious that we're not falling into a trap, because I think that basically mainstream media really does want the internet. Younger people do not look at television news anymore. They've wanted it a long time, and what better way than to have so much censorship, because everything's gotten so crazy, and fake news, to bring it on, cause the censorship, you know, and these same people that want it, you know, are going to actually make us do it, to make us do the evil deeds, you know, and ruin social media so nobody has a free voice anymore. That it could be a setup that they're trying to make us bring it on. And so we have to be very cautious how we proceed, you know, with legal things. And it is hard to nail people because you really have to be able to have proof. And it's very hard to decide your thing. The FBI is rather new to them. And the kind of evidence that has to be gotten and gained, you know, is very difficult. It's very difficult to prove that, oh, so-and-so did this to the person. Because I think in many cases is that it was the last straw that pushed somebody over the edge. But you can't say that he caused a person to do it, you know, and so you have to be cautious in how you say it. And I don't know if you can't really arrest somebody for pushing somebody over the edge, you know, in a sense of what you said to them. And, you know, so we have to really, I think, proceed cautiously, keep in mind that they may be setting us up to cause our own censorship, to lose our own voice.
Well, can I give some input? Because I've said this in a previous stream, but since there's more people here in that new stream, and I don't think some of you guys were around, I think it was like a month and a half, 2 months ago, I actually got a hold of Napa Valley DA. And I talked to an investigator at the Napa Valley DA and had him look into all this stuff because of the pattern that was in Napa Valley. The guy told me that people attributed needed to figure out his IP address, as well as reach out to his internet service provider, present them with the evidence, as well as go to Google. And they can do wonders with that. Is that right there is, if things get too bad, that's one way we can do it. Since it's across state lines and everything, it's really murky though, because police resources don't, like local law enforcement doesn't focus on this shit.
I didn't know if they was on.
Yes.
So that's what I got from the Napa Valley DA investigator that I talked to, and we talked for a good 45 minutes, guys. Like, I showed him the rip-off reports, I showed him all that fucking shit. And he was like, dude, this is really fucked up. Let me give you some tips. But, yeah. That's why I did the whole FBI reports prior to that and everything, is because I went to the regular police, too. It still baffles me as to how DeFango got a protection order, because when I go, they just laugh. So I'm like, whatever, it doesn't actually matter. Because I tried a long time ago.
Yes.
Anyone got anything to say about that? No, man, you're stuck on. There we go. And I can't hear you guys. Can't hear you, no bad.
Okay. I can hear you.
Coming through fine.
Yeah, I can hear you. Weird. Maybe I gotta refresh.
Yeah, I don't know if I need a
there we go.
refresh.
There
Can you
we
hear
go.
me?
I can hear
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna say I've actually talked to some of my contacts in Google. It is like it feels okay. This is how it feels with all these tech companies, that they're just too big for their britches, right? They're not paying attention. They're programming algorithms to detect copyright violations and things like that. They're not really, looking at this one pocket as a bad thing. And when you guys were talking about censorship, this is the one thing I would teach students in technology. Is my concern is censorship.
Yeah.
And that's always been my concern, is First Amendment rights, being the ability to us being able to talk. Right now we look at the whole thing that's happening in China, and they're shutting things down even by putting that word in, or the 2 words in for the city, right? They're censoring people just from even saying it here, even in the States. And that is concerning. It's like, where's the dissemination of information? And then you see that, there's things that they're locking down on YouTube and things like that. And I don't want that to go away. I want us to be able to have a conversation on the internet. And I want to find out information, but it's starting to become more censored. And I think these guys just want the internet on fire. There's a few people in this pocket that I could say they just want it to burn in flames and not care about what happens. And where are we at then? And it's just very concerning, because I see that this is a platform. These are things that we can do where we can talk, we can have these conversations, we can research, we can have a lot of information that we never had before 10, 15, 20 years ago. But now we have, with that comes evil. So you have the good versus the evil. Technology can be used for good, or it can be used for evil. And that's where, I'm looking at the future generations, and I'm seeing, like, I don't want my friends' kids or their grandkids growing up in a world where they come across some really sick and perverse stuff. And that's the world we're living in. And when you have people that are being victimized so bad where they can't speak up because they're in fear of their safety. And I've been told by people close to the Cappy family that they were concerned for me. But I'm going to continue to speak up. I'm going to continue to say what I'm saying, because I witnessed it. And I saw what can happen. And I'm talking to, Jesse, and thank you for this conversation. I'm talking to Diane. I'm talking to all these victims. And I'm like, you can't say they're the bullies, because I've seen the evidence. And I'm talking to people that are very scared, but they've shared personal information with me that makes me have to continue on this mission to out these deviants, because you know what? We have to speak up. We have to create a dialogue, and we have to do something about this sickening cesspool on the internet. And I am not going to get my censorship taken away by these idiots.
Even if they're trying to bait everyone or set a trap, and they're making Thomas has made so many claims of lawsuits and God, I'm supposedly under investigation by half a different dozen people, and he claims he's got FBI that's in his family, and this and that. As long as you're only putting out the truth, and I do mean the truth, things that are easily proven, documented, whatever. If they were foolish enough to try to take you to a court of law, which, I have said numerous times, Thomas, I'd be happy to see you in a courtroom any given day, because I would love to bring my evidence against you and make it all public record and a court record, and I would love to see him get taken down in a court of law. Obviously, I would either have to sue him there in California, or if he wants to sue me, he would have to come here and sue me. Because, we're in different states. So, but as long as everybody's putting out facts, and I can't stress that enough, these guys put out enough false narratives. We don't want to play into their hand, or we don't want to be in that game to where somebody can say, hey, look, this guy's LARPing, or this guy's, lying. As long as everything you're saying is truth, and there's ways to prove what you're saying is truth, then we're in the right.
Yeah.
We're not doing anything wrong, and a court of law is not going to find you in the wrong.
Yeah, and I mean that's what people have told me, and that's the thing that you guys, the thing that I want you guys to all know is that we have to speak up. We have to continue to speak our truth, live with integrity, know that we are not the bad guys, and if we're doing the right thing, you know, the truth will prevail. It may not be tomorrow. It may not be next week. It may not be next month. It may not be even next year, but eventually it will catch up. I fully believe in karma biting in people's asses.
The truth always wins. It does.
Yeah.
Every fucking time.
And you know, I believe that was Penny just talking, and she's the one that just kind of said, "Hey, I don't give a shit about this group. I'm here for this reason." And you know, I get that, and no offense taken to the comment, because to be totally honest, I don't have any ties really to anybody here either, other than, you know, people have reached out to me, and I've reached out to some of these folks also and said, "Hey, look, you know what? We need to make sure that this stops here so that no one else is harmed." I mean, you know, am I building close friendships? You know, hey, I mean, I guess it's a relationship of sorts on here, but my purpose and goal here was to come here and make sure that no one got harmed the way my wife got harmed.
Yes.
And you know, if I've met some people and we continue to talk after all this is said and done, hey, that's great. I keep my circle of friends very small, and I've learned to do that for good reason throughout my life. You know.
And you have to with this situation that we're all dealing with, you have to have some distance. And you know, when I'm saying certain things, I'm keeping things at a distance. I ain't gonna give the whole, you know, cards away kind of thing. But I will make a point that as a victim of cyber deviance myself many years ago, my passion and why I'm here and why I'm helping you all, and you know, I'm glad I'm meeting you guys, because in the process, I've been a victim of it, and I was doxxed a while ago for calling somebody a fucking idiot. I didn't say fucking. I just said you're an idiot, and they you know, that was what led me to a mental breakdown, and you know, I can see why your wife went through that too. And a lot of people could. And that was just as simple, just calling a person an idiot. Hell, my professional account got deactivated and banned from Twitter for that whole situation. But yet, the one I'm using now evidently doesn't, so I'm doing something right, but I still can't wrap my mind around that one. Like, I called a person an idiot, and I got banned on Twitter. I was like, how does this happen?
I want to ask everybody what they think of this. The way maybe we could deal with this whole thing. You know, years ago when bill collectors used to have people very much like what Thomas does, harassing people on the phone, saying the sheriff is watching them, they're coming to your house, they're going to arrest you, you need to pay the bill. And this went on for years, where bill collectors, you know, unscrupulous bill collectors would have sociopaths call people at all hours and harass them. And it was a very much exact same threat that Thomas made. I've always said, I think he used to probably do that for a living at one point. But the law, no, I really do. I'm serious. Yeah. I think it was just...
Oh, no, I mean, it makes perfect sense because I've worked in that industry.
The only career he ever had. And it became illegal. They're able to pass laws that didn't hurt censorship, didn't hurt people being able to collect debt, but they drew a line. They drew a line and said, you cannot call people and threaten them. So maybe there's a way with the internet, we can kind of approach it that way, that there's a way to have it that, no, you cannot tell people, you know, harass them and say that, you know, they murdered their dogs, they're abusing their clients, you know, saying that you're contacting their employer and that it's using you abusing your clients. That's over the line, and that can be stopped without you know, bringing censorship into play. You know, we need our freedom of speech, but there's that line, like yelling fire at a theater, or calling people in the middle of the night and saying the sheriff's coming to arrest you if you don't pay your bill. And maybe we need to approach it and look at those kind of laws and what works there, and maybe that's something we could, you know, look into and see if that can be applied to the internet.
Well, and my suggestion, and I'm sorry.
unfortunately, there's a very fine line and a gray area between freedom of speech and what someone would consider censorship. I mean, I run a community activist page on Facebook that has well over 3,000 members, and they're all local people in my community, and that's where the real community issues get discussed. That's where the things that our local media doesn't cover, all the major violence and shooting in our city here in South Bend. They call us Little Chicago for good reason, because of the corruption and the violence. But trying to keep the peace in that group, and allow people free speech, which is what I set the page up originally for, and also trying to control the attacks when people attack other people personally. It's a tough gig to juggle, and I'm the only admin, so that's one of the reasons I'm not on this platform a lot, is because I deal a lot with community issues here, which obviously affect me personally, and this issue affected me personally, so that's why I'm here dealing with this as well.
Yeah, I believe the phone companies even became involved with the harassment. So maybe we need to look at the social media platforms to get more involved with the kind of online threat, and without leading to censorship. And maybe the platforms working with them, is something we also need to look at too. Yeah, we don't want the government laws doing all that, but
Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah.
So these are the tools that I would recommend to you guys to just start looking at. Maybe you guys are already implementing it in your day-to-day lives with social media. 1, turn off your notifications. 2, that's 1. If somebody's messing with you on, like, say, Twitter, there's the mute option. You can always put mute, where you don't have to interact with the person. And if you need to, you block. But then it's also, the other thing is the report function. Report. If you ever see anything that is harassing to the point of, the cyber stalking kind of level, you have to report. And that's what the Google guy told me with the YouTube stuff, right? Because Fiona Barnett is all over the freaking net, man. There's no way. It's whack-a-mole. You just pop one out, and then you got another one coming out. You got to pop them down, and so you have to report anything you see. It's like the law enforcement guy that I work with. He says, when you see something, you got to say something, and it's true. And so my whole thing is, this is why I'm here, is that it's networking with these groups, these activist groups that are working for civil rights on cyber crimes, like, say, the revenge porn that I've dealt with, where we work with these individuals, these groups, these foundations, these organizations to actually do something where you basically, in the process, you team up, but you also create that movement, you create that community. And I think that's what we're doing here, is creating a community, but then it's also creating those tools that you need to combat this deviance online. And it is a poison, and it's more of us standing up. And even if the victims aren't going and standing up, that's what scares me, is the people that are dying. I don't want to see any more people die. And I don't want to see any more people go into a mental ward for a psychotic break. But I want to see where we teach the tools. And I think that's where it comes down to with cyberbullying, just in that format, is how do you create those solutions? Well, I've worked with kids on them. I've worked with kids on, like, how to create these solutions to combat this deviance. Well, these kids are amazing with what they've created, but it's also creating that movement saying, this is not going to be acceptable. We're not going to allow this kind of mentality on the internet. And for the social norms, because these people lack moral codes. They lack what is right from wrong, because you can get behind the computer, say anything you want to say about somebody, and you switch gears, and you may not be that person in person, if I was to meet you in person, but then you become this deviant that It's kind of like you get your rocks off. You get people like any attention is good attention for some of these people.
Well,
and it's sick.
A lot of people don't stop to understand. It's not just people, jumping off bridges or taking pills or whatever. I mean, Pavana, I believe, said it in one of the first short videos that we did, and to this day, she has a very difficult time even talking with me about what happened. And those videos were very difficult for her to sit down and do. But I believe in one of them, she said she was dying, and she was being honest because of this whole psychotic episode. She wasn't eating correctly because she would get sick occasionally, and she literally was under 100. I firmly believe that they played a strong role in that when I saw some of the things about Cappy, and them just slamming about Judas and, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, then to see the people after his death try to profit from it, as far as I'm concerned. We know that all this LARPing and this stuff is all for clicks and likes and subs, which, means donations or monetization payments from YouTube, whatever the case is. Yeah, so for them to try to create a LARP about his death after the fact, and people claiming, oh, he's not dead, they just put him in. I mean, I was shocked. I could not believe how quickly the different narratives came together on different channels. And I don't pay a lot of close attention to that stuff normally, but I have listened in to a lot of the stuff on Cappy, and even the vegan Mikey stuff lately has been unbelievable.
Talk to vegan Mikey. I realized something after I talked to him is he had an agenda. He had nothing. He didn't want to listen to me at all. When I said I did contact the family about the computer, it's all about followers. It's all about making money. It's all about attention. It's all about this narcissism. It's all about, just being in the limelight. And it's a sick and perverse. And I think a lot of these people that are LARPing, dude, are on drugs or they're criminals. That's what I've concluded. Because you have to be you got to be smoking something to be this fucking insane and lie this much.
Yeah, I agree.
It's totally messed up. It's totally messed up, man.
Don't smoke the crack, it's whack.
All right, but we have another joiner. We have someone else just joined. Who just joined? Yep, Rook 8. Rook 8 is in here, and then someone else joined, but I think they rejoined. So welcome, Rook 8.
I just wanted to share. It was I don't know. I think yesterday sometime, but Thomas had put a video up on YouTube, but he doesn't share anything on his other pages. He's been putting videos out on Parody Lives, and he had put a video out. Who is Cicada 3301? And someone had made a comment about it, and Thomas's comment said, in their mind is one thing, word man, but helps on their lips is quite another. Is it not ironic that the ones flapping their wings all over the internet and screaming, I'm Cicada, seem chained to the very ego Cicada 3301 suggests is the greatest barrier to enlightenment? So
that was an attack against me, dude. Because you know what I mean? I'm telling you.
Let's discuss that point real quick, if I may just interject. So what value, excuse me, I'm sorry. So what value is there in Thomas hijacking Cicada? Obviously, there's a monetary value because there is a huge, well, I can't say huge, in the truthy community, there is a large there's a large, I guess, reputation around Cicada in which you could turn around and, of course, take it and sell it to Sony, for example, and make a lot of money off it. But personally, I don't think that is the main motive behind trying to, I guess, take over Cicada. So maybe I'd like to, if everybody would like to as well, please shoot me down if no one else is interested. Let's maybe discuss why Cicada 3301 was chosen as the vessel to kind of take over. Like what, who would benefit, why, you know, kind of, I guess, stuff like this. I kind of want to discuss this stuff. So what do you guys think?
Yeah.
Why Cicada 3301 was chosen?
Can I ask something?
Please.
When it comes to the Cicada issue, you know, that 4-part series came out on that channel, The Big Story, and it apparently has Brother Box in it. Now, you know, from someone who did not take part in the puzzle, you're going to have to remember that probably most of the people watching this did not. And maybe it's useful to clarify that the reason that Thomas was not mentioned in that series is because he was never part of Cicada, and that this is just a hijack for some sort of cred, street cred.
Well, and we know that part of the reason that it's important is because the trademark that was out there, and Sony with some type of a movie deal at some point in time that was in the making, that I don't know if that's now a scrapped idea or whatever, but we know there's been a lot of infighting and protection of that trademark from Thomas at this point, from what I understand.
But if he was never paid, then it needs to be common knowledge.
No, that's the
It
truth.
needs to be restated again and again until everyone gets it.
I mean,
So
he stated it himself. He stated it himself in one of his newest videos on Parody Libs, that anyone who says that they're Cicada 3301 is not Cicada 3301. So he just threw everyone under the bus, including himself. Because, I mean, Michael Levine comes out and friggin' has a trademark, Cicada 3301, that means that he's not Cicada 3301. It means that Thomas isn't. It means that friggin' everyone isn't. And that would be what he was getting at. You know?
Plus his videos are always such shit. They're just horrible.
Yeah.
I don't know who's working on his videos with him now, but from what I understand, you know, he didn't have much technical skill in the actual video end of it, other than just supplying music, because, you know, he had my wife actually doing a few videos and utilizing his music in the videos. And I believe even Lestat, and there was a couple other people that worked on the video end of it for him. So whoever, right now, he's creating videos, sometimes several videos a day. So I'm not sure who's behind the video end of it, but he's probably just providing the music for the most part.
But do we even know if that's true?
Well, I'm not saying it's his original music. I'm just saying he's providing the music.
So the thing is with Cicada, what to me I noticed changed the most was the occultic aspect of the group. There was not necessarily an overt aspect of occultism in the original Cicada puzzles. It seems like it was much more heavily layered with an occultic aspect, and to me it seems almost like snakes. You know, it seems more so kind of like it turned more into like infotainment rather than reality. I think that is something that's also very interesting also. So if they take it and it starts originally, if the Cicada is originally about cryptology and the essence of privacy and valuing encryption, why did it turn into occultism?
Because it was taken over.
Yes, of course. Now, this is pure speculation. I think that occultism is something that is a very, very big interest to a lot of people. And I think that, you know, occult studies and such, I think that making it about something like that drags a lot more people in. But the thing is, there's also a psychological aspect to studying the occult. And I think that when people study the occult, if they're not reading real material, I think it's very, very easy to like psychologically subvert someone into believing, for lack of better terms, bullshit. So I think that also I'd like to kind of maybe discuss why Cicada was chosen, because I don't think that it was just a money play. I think that it was used more also as a means of like a psychological attack on the truth community. I think that Cicada 3301, this group, like, I mean, they were, for lack of better terms, the champions of encryption. You know, and then you take the champions of encryption. I mean, encryption is something that is so very, very, like, detrimentally important to whistleblowers and to what the truth community really should be. I mean, it's the ability to speak freely without consequence. You know, and I mean, that could obviously be used for malice or benevolence. And I think that if you were to take something, you know, that was preaching a good message and you were to turn it into some kind of snake oil, snake skin kind of bullshit, I think that you're really changing the message and you're kind of subverting the importance of privacy and security. So I think that it goes deeper than really just a copyright. I think that the copyright, you know, of course, would have made money. And when we're looking at criminals and we're looking at gangsters, like, it's not really ever just one avenue, one vessel, one idea. It's like, you know, there's a concept and it's how much can we build on top of this concept? Can we make money on this concept? What else can we do with this concept? And I see that that's very common in a lot of other grifting campaigns, you know, and that's Q included. I think that we should also really be analyzing, like, why necessarily Cicada was chosen. I personally, and like I said, this is pure speculation, think that there's a psychological aspect to taking over Cicada as well. I don't think that it was really just for the money. It may end up actually, you know, involving the truth community and completely and totally subverting the truth community. And, you know, a lot of the truth community that may be involved in Cicada, you know, at least from my own personal observations, are also involved in the WikiLeaks community. And, you know, and now we're talking about crossing from the Cicada community into the WikiLeaks community. You know, if we're able to corrupt, the WikiLeaks community, then we're really talking, you know, major disruption here. So I think that, and again, this is personal speculation, but I think that this is something that maybe we should really make an observation of as well. Like, why Cicada? Like, why were they chosen? Well, but again, this is my own speculation, and I might just be a big dumb idiot.
You can definitely, if you look at some of these people's pages on Twitter and so forth, and you follow some of the things that they talk about and the things that they really push, you can tell that a lot of this is geared toward getting people steered towards their political beliefs as well. There's a huge political aspect within all of this as well.
Yes, and beyond that, let's say you're able to make the truth community go absolutely batshit crazy. And, you know, you're able to start drumming up lawsuits where, you know, you're able to make the truth community look like just apeshit crazy people. You're creating a justification for the government to then come in and create regulations for encryption, create regulations for conspiracy theories, which is kind of like happening like right now, like the FBI. And I mean, I'm not a follower of QAnon whatsoever. I did honestly follow it in its very beginning, in its infancy, but it is not something that I followed for a very, very long time, more than a year. The FBI had just recently said that the QAnon community, you know, and QAnon and conspiracy theories are a danger to and should be considered like domestic threats. So you know, you have this blow up of the QAnon community, and there's speculation. Now, if someone may want to interject here, it seems as if, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that Thomas may have been involved in Q, and Thomas may have actually been posting his Q. So if we have Thomas coming in and subverting Cicada and taking over Cicada, tearing it away from cryptology, turning it into the nonsensical aspect of occultism, and then also using Q and creating a complete a network where a massive amount of people are literally experiencing psychosis and literally believe that like this Q team actually exists and whatnot. And I can I can relate to that feeling. There was a point where I actually did think Q was real in its infancy. So it's very, when you're able to change people's minds about this stuff, you're really able to really make an impact, and you're able to make digital foot soldiers willing to carry your message. And if those digital foot soldiers are talking some absolute lunacy, you're creating the ability for the government to create regulations on encryption, and this is something that William Barr is actually doing right now. He's actually pushing for a backdoor into encryption like VPNs. So this is something that is, there may be a motive behind subverting Cicada. There may be a motive behind as to why Q was so popularized. And there's other reasons as to why Q may be popularized. Like I said before, I don't think that there's ever a singular motive as to why people are doing things. I think that this might be a very, very large spider web. And I think that might be something of very interest also. And please interject if you disagree or agree. I'd love to hear other thoughts about this.
Well, did the Aquino interview bring up anything for anyone? Mind War?
Well, see, the thing is, Michael Aquino, that guy is so full of shit. Like,
Okay, but we got somebody telling us chaos magic, Discord, and even right, and Mind Wars, and when people are telling you things, maybe we should believe them.
Yeah, I've been saying that, like, honestly, guys, if you take a look at my first stream, I tried telling people that, like, a year ago, and everybody looked at me and was like, dude, you cray-cray, and I'm like, this is what these people are saying. If they're actually into this shit, it explains why everything's so fucked up, man. Just look at all the freaking stuff. It's totally fucked up shit.
If I can't say I watched the interview because I did not. Can someone elaborate on the Michael Aquino interview with Lifted the Veil at Schellenberger?
It was actually Lepo.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for the correction. Would you mind elaborating on it, kind of explaining about it?
Yep.
Bobby, you want
to? Go ahead, Bridget. You seem like I don't pay attention to Lepo that much because he kind of annoys me.
I'll be honest, I'm out of almost all of this stuff, so I don't know anything about Lepo or about much of Thomas's cronies. I got out of this in January, February-ish, so.
A brief background on Aquino is that he basically wrote the book on modern mind war coming out of the Phoenix program in Vietnam, which was not necessarily meant to be like a military operation, but it was literally a psyop. We throw that term around, but we forget it's a real thing. And so he came back stateside and sort of brought it home with him with a group of other people similarly situated in the military-industrial complex. And it combines a lot of elements that we're all familiar with because we live in America and we grew up with that advertising. But he also wrote a paper that's credited with being the white paper on mind wars. And when Lepo got him on, it was kind of shocking that he would speak to him, but he's actually spoken to quite a few people on YouTube. And it was a very sycophantic interview. And I think when they stepped away from it and realized that it would not go over well with people, that people would be appalled because Aquino was involved with pedophilia at the Presidio, they tried to say, oh, well, we were just trying to draw him out. But, if you go back and listen to it. But Aquino wrote a paper called From Psyop to Mind War, The Psychology of Victory.
Yeah.
It was actually written by Paul Valley. You can find this anywhere. The PDF is anywhere. It was written by the 7th Psychological Operations Group out of the Presidio of San Francisco, and it was published in 1980. And there's a lot. I mean, I could go into the entire history of the 70s, but I'm not going to do that. But I'm just going to say that when people are, first of all, we don't know who Cicada really was. So how easy is it to step in and say, I'm Cicada, follow me. We don't know who Q was, so anyone can come forward and say, well, I came up with the Q idea, and I posted his Q. Okay, so there's a crime of opportunity just there for the asking. And, whether there's a monetary motivation, that there could be lots of motivations, but it does seem that, there's some people in this world, they look at something that someone is building, or they look at something that's a force for good, like encryption, and their first desire is to either take credit for it or try to destroy it. And in doing so, create a lot of chaos and fill their lives with sort of, narcissistic abuse of other people, and they can feed their own desire for sadism and controlling people, particularly if those people are no ones. If they're nobodies, they have no accomplishments of their own, they don't really have anything going on, they don't have a career, then what a great opportunity the internet poses, because like I think I wrote in the comments, you don't have to look someone in the eye when you're lying to them. You have to kind of look back at the con men of old and wonder, wow, they really put in a hard day's work trying to convince someone of some bullshit, But with this, you can set up 20 alts, have conversations with each other, and, it looks like a movement.
It's like
and before
Lepo
you know it,
says,
people
man.
are on.
It's like Lepo says, better call us all. And that's Slippin' Jimmy right there. Con artist, freaking everything. Like, that's where that reference is that he's literally referencing con artistry in his own chats with Thomas, which I find very ironic, because if you actually look under every single thing Lepo does, look at his tone shifts, the way he does his body and his postures. He takes random pot shots at Thomas without him even realizing that he's taking pot shots. Like, he has Thomas walking into walls. And it's the most hilarious thing, because I'm watching this and I'm like, whose side are you on, motherfucker? Because he gives it out to everyone, but then again, he's also low-key freaking, like, fucking with Thomas hardcore. At least that's what I see. Just listening to his voice. I don't pay attention that much, but the videos that I've seen, I've caught him freaking fucking with Thomas. It's kind of funny. I just scared everyone.
Is anybody else having Bobby's voice like cut out on him, or is it just my piece of shit laptop again?
I think it's a whole bunch of things. I know Nomad was going to say something, and then Bobby was talking. No, but I agree with Hydra and Nomad, but what it sounds like to me, if you've ever read the book The Wave, or watched the show The Wave, and this is like an old '80s TV special, but it was a book, and what it was is it was a psyops. It was pretty much a psyops. It was like how Hitler took control of Germany, but they did it with a bunch of school kids. And the teacher was the head honcho, and then slowly but surely, the whole school was under the teacher's control. And this is what it sounds like. Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
The heck, man. Give me a second, guys. Let me refresh.
Mexico. I can straight up, he's from New Mexico, because I lived in New Mexico for some time, and the things that I was concerned, and this is what brings me to the Cicada stuff with the layering on videos. Okay, so an anon that I've been working with that sent me some stuff, man. It's crazy, and I looked at the extraction of the searching for Cappy video, right? And I looked at that, and he had sent me this stuff. And I go, that's the University of New Mexico. Like, if you were to pull up the Google Maps of UNM, right? It is straight up New Mexico. The University of New Mexico.
Exactly.
And then it is the craziest thing ever. And then what I saw too, with where he was going to the bridge, right? That is the rail runner outside of Santa Fe. I'll tell you straight now. Like I've driven that road so many times. I know exactly where that road is, where that park and ride is. It's the park and ride for the light rail. It's called the Rail Runner. Now, if we go into the QAnon, conspiracy, I'm just going to throw this onto a sidetrack, right? Okay, so look up Los Alamos National Labs. I kid you fucking not. Los Alamos, New Mexico, and this is why I kept thinking, I was like, they have to have something with the DOE stuff, with the QAnon stuff. They have to have something connected, right? So Los Alamos National Labs, if you pull up the Road Runner supercomputer, right? And this goes back to Eli Priest that connects to the Fiona Barnett, whatever. But yeah, God damn it, did I get disconnected? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, you're getting disconnected.
Hello? I'm disconnected. God damn.
I can hear you. It's buffering. Yeah. It's buffering pretty bad.
Stupid freaking technology. Well, Rail Runner, the supercomputer, up in Los Alamos. I kid you not. And I kept thinking, I was like, Cappy's connected to like Los Alamos people, because if you are from New Mexico, you basically know a lot of people. Like, you know everybody. Mm-hmm. And it's easy to know somebody at Los Alamos National Lab. I've worked with people. I've actually done projects with Los Alamos National Labs. So I know that stuff happens. And when the thing with Lepo, though, he keeps talking about being extras in Breaking Bad. And Frank Bacon keeps referencing all this stuff. And what he said to me one time was he lived near Albuquerque. And then I kind of pulled it out. I went, Cerritos. And he goes, no, but close. And then I go, Los Ranchos. Now, for me, everybody keeps saying that he's this one guy from Denver, right? That is Tyrone Simpson. I don't know, man, because the guy seems old and he seems like he says he's disabled, right? Well, lo and behold, I find a Frank Bacon, and I don't want to like dox that guy, right? Because I don't know if it's that old guy, right? But he's 80 years old, probably has a lot of time on his hands, and he has a cane and stuff.
That's what I was backing up. But you're sitting there fucking yelling at me for no fucking reason.
Dang.
I was right there on the phone, and I was sitting there talking to him. I don't know it. Hold on.
Alright, guys, that was interesting. I self-muted him. That was interesting.
Alright, well, while we have the free moment here, if I may ask, how was it Lepo got Aquino on his show? Do we know how that connection was made?
I don't know. I have no idea. It just really surprised me. I apologize.
Hey, can anyone hear me?
Yeah, I heard you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I really honestly haven't been paying attention to that because I just, Lepo's an SOB. But, it is what it is. But I would think that it would probably come from Thomas or something like that.
No, he said he actually just he said he actually just invited him on the stream.
He's just a lonely old man at this point. Listen, there may be connections between things that seem to be legitimate, and I just don't believe that any of these people are connected to any of that. I think these people ain't shit. They don't even have jobs. Okay, they're not connected to academia. They're not connected to the military, and no intelligence agency would touch them. Okay, they're just a bunch of losers wasting their time online.
Spin theory, man.
Now some of us are sick. I'm ill. That's why I'm online. But to give them credit as if there's something to be scared of, they're nice people or nothing. All right.
Well, I will agree with you in a sense.
Either, so don't even think about that. That's bull.
I will agree with you in a sense that they're losers. However, one thing that does concern me is that, for example, the 2016 puzzle seemed a lot more very, very, very occultic, and it almost seemed like almost like the work, for example, and I'm not saying that he's involved in it because I don't think that he was, but it seems like something that like Michael Aquino's work. I'm not saying that Thomas and Michael Aquino are connected, but when it comes to the psychological aspect, when you see the 2016 puzzle of Cicada, it became a much more occultic, much more occultic puzzle than the previous puzzles.
Well, maybe
And,
it wasn't the people that originally put it out. I mean,
I don't think it was the people who
Anywhere.
originally put it out.
No, it
I don't think that we're talking about a different cicada, and I think that I think that the 2016 cicada obviously is definitely not the original cicada. Now the thing is, if, and this is pure speculation, let's say that Thomas was who got Aquino onto Lepo's channel, to see the occultic aspects of, you know, Cicada kind of bolstered, and, you know, to see it may be possible that perhaps maybe Thomas got Aquino on Lepo's show. I think that might be something that that may be interesting, you know, and maybe worth investigating also. Perhaps maybe Thomas and Aquino connection, because I mean, Thomas has openly talked about using chaos magic and vortex theory, and yes, there's a million grifters everywhere and whatnot. He could have organically come up with this idea by himself, but this seems like an interesting connection also. You know, Cicada all of a sudden turns super occultic, and I mean, Michael Aquino wrote, I guess what you would call like the modern day like book on occultism. So I think that that's also a very interesting connection. That's something that might be worth viewing.
Well, it's definitely the Psyop, the military Psyop component for sure. There's actually, I'll have to find the video, but there was a guy that's been studying the Bundy Ranch standoff, and he broke down the different Psyops and the connections with the Bundy Ranch with, what is it? The head Bundy guy that got shot and killed. But he actually goes into the different Psyops. It's a 4-hour long video, I'll tell you right now. Take it in some breaks, but it's very insightful. I'll get it to you guys when I have some time, you know. This is my ADD moment, so, you know, enjoy.
But going back to the Q stuff, I mean, there's lots of different strands. There's the paedophilia aspect of it, where the Pizzagate side. Then there's the Donald Marshall. They are making clones on islands, and then there is the Patriot soapbox side, which is just basic news, and then undercurrent to that is the cult side. Now, a lot of people have missed the fact that when Q first started, there were actually two parallel strands. There was the Patriot soapbox, which was all those guys, Coleman, Rogers, etc. And then there was the QNN. Now, in the QNN, that was where all the cult was, because there was this guy in there talking about Unum as if it was some sort of plasma of the universe. And that's all they talked about. And all they talked about was raiding channels. But this Unum concept was actually developed by someone who was in Scientology. And so really early on, they were developing some sort of cult following. Now, this QNN has now transpired to be people like JOM from South Africa, I think he is. And lots of other people, but they all
Hey, Chat, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Sorry, carry on.
The JOM connection, because my researcher, this is back in the early beginning of the year, they were telling me about somebody from South Africa, and there was a connection to the Fiona Barnett stuff.
Right.
So I think that might be the connection that I'm missing, because I knew there was some South African connection. And
there's two. There's the Paul Ferber connection.
Okay.
Which is the Patriot soapbox, and then there was the QNN parallel to that, which was JOM. But that's
not OANN, but QNN.
No.
Okay.
QNN, True Lies.
Okay.
And that's and actually, if you look at that channel as it is at the moment, it has a lot of. Jordan Sather is attached to it. All of the gayest, all of the gayest stuff.
You were saying the Scientology stuff, because I drew the conclusion about the connection, right, with the Sather part. That's to the ancient alien guys, right? So you have that pocket, right, with the Scientology, with the UFOs and the aliens, and so they're pushing that agenda, right, with Jordan Sather and his little Clorox bleach saved the kids from the fucking autism. I swear to God, this is what we're dealing with. people are giving their kids bleach because Jordan Sather said it's going to help them with their kid that has autism spectrum.
It's totally
These people, it's
irresponsible.
like Darwinism, man. Darwin, but I mean.
But going back to Cappy, where it fits in with Cappy was this real big push
Fiona
for Donald Marshall.
Okay.
If you actually,
Why is such a bitch?
if you I don't know who that is. Is that someone's kids? But going back to the Cappy stuff, he actually believed that they were making clones, and a lot of his followers are all believers in
my wrist.
Well, that was Robert David Steele too, with his stuff on
fell on my wrist
Mars.
when we were digging. Yeah. Yeah, there was more fucking rocks in that hole than
Jesse, you might want to mute yourself.
Is it broken?
No. Fucking
Boulder as in boulder, how big?
probably about that big.
Let me see your
Jesse, you might want to mute yourself.
Mute Jesse.
You wouldn't be able to bend it. Yeah.
Just sore.
Someone tag Jesse in chat real quick and let him know I muted him. Just in case they were having a private
Lone,
conversation.
hey Bobby, you should be able to mute.
Yeah, Bobby, you should be able to mute anyone.
Oh no, I know. I just muted him. That's what I was saying. Is that just let him know. Here, let me do it.
Oh, the children, man. This is why I don't teach anymore. Hey, Bobby, you can mute. You can mute him.
I did.
No, it's still coming through.
Well, as you see, the Just Me 85 is on the screen on the stream. It says muted, so something's going on.
You're out of control, Bobby. You're out of control.
No,
Select
it's
everybody
great.
to put on mute. Try doing the all mute option and then let us unmute ourselves.
You know, I'm gonna refresh. Another time. And as it refreshes, I'm gonna go use the restroom. I'll be right back.
Me having a private discussion with his wife.
Those teenagers make me want to tie my tube. No offense, people that have kids.
Yeah, what I always said was, makes me want to bang my head off some shit. Did you know if you ride a really crappy roller coaster at like a carnival, your head kind of bounces off and stuff?
You were talking about, wasn't Baruch the scribe from South Africa as well?
That's right, yeah, Baruch the scribe. And of course, if you look at Paul Ferber's Twitter, it's all about.
Alright, I'm back.
Also in the queue is obviously the extremism. Whether that's alt-left or alt-right, but there's groups, there's those elements, so it's as if they combined everything together that was absolute rubbish. And
I'm back, guys.
I've made lots of people believe things that are just not true, so they don't know where they are, really. For unsuspecting people, maybe a lot of these people have it's their first entry into the truth community. You just don't know, but there's a lot of strong believers in all these different elements. And it was okay when it was just one conspiracy theory and it kept in its own little bubble, but now it's just all together. and it can send anyone crazy. That's why, you know, I just never touched. I never touched Q at all.
There you go.
I just
That's me.
looked
You're
at.
unmuted.
I just looked at. I was just watching. Basically, I was just observing. And to me, it can send anyone crazy. Which is why when people started trying to say that Pavana, she was when they were trying to say that she was crazy anyway in the first place, and that's why it tipped her over the edge. I was like, no. You put people into these different situations, and it's not just one thing, it's lots of things. And what happened with Pavana, these people slowly gathered around her until she saw no way out of any kind of support, I suppose, in that particular community. So,
well, if
it can happen to anyone. I mean,
can you hear me?
If in the right circumstances, it can happen to anyone. So that's what I really want to say. It is dangerous in that respect because it's human nature to want to achieve things.
I agree.
You know, it's human nature to want to investigate.
I will say this right now, Jet. When I was revenge porned many years ago, I linked up with this lady called that ran a website called inrevengeporn.org. She was working on her PhD. I was working on my master's at the time. We're not dumb people, and if it can happen to us and we can become victims of stuff like this, it can easily happen to anybody, even without, you know, credentials or whatever. It is anybody can become a victim of cybercrimes and cyberdeviance.
If you looked back at
and it's like we're already psyoped anyway by the mainstream media, and then you come into the truth community and it's in the psyop. You know, you try and escape one psyop and then you get another one. No. And this has all been since, say, 2015. Well, since Pizzagate, which was, there is paedophilia around, but it just wasn't. The Pizzagate stuff subverted the narrative.
It's an outrage because you got to realize it's triggering people that wouldn't normally be triggered. But when you say pedophilia, people are going to like react. Evidently, you know.
If you look back through the things prior,
it also goes to the fact that they're trying to, going back to what Halia was saying with Cicada. The reason why they chose Cicada for this kind of subversion is because it's mysterious. It's you know, they keep the mystery going. There's lots of people who are attracted to it, so there's the viral element. And no, it was nothing about the trait. I mean, someone's idea was to subvert that into Q eventually, which it became Q.
Yeah, and I mean, encryption completely changed. Like, I mean, I'm not a cryptologist to say, but I mean, it just, the puzzles were not the same at all. They weren't nearly as strong at all. They weren't nearly as masterfully crafted at all. And I mean, they took the encryption aspect and they changed it into a minor encryption aspect and a major occult aspect. So it seems as if it completely changed from kind of what it was really serving. It went from the importance of privacy to the importance of understanding the occult. And just to drive another point, you know, it really is very interesting to see Lepo, someone connected to Thomas, having Aquino on his show, and to see Thomas and Aquino almost preaching the same kind of ideologies. Like I said, this is pure, absolute, 100% speculation, and I have nothing to back up the fact that these people are connected, but I just can't help but feel something that these people might end up actually being connected. There's no way in which I could show you something and prove this, but this is just very, very, very interesting to me. And I know that some people do believe that these people do have no power, and you could only, you know, they only have the power that you give them, but these people were capable of, like, giving people psychosis. Like, for example, and I mean, and it's no offense or no ragging on Pavana at all whatsoever, but she was a huge victim of psychosis and an ideological subversion that was, planted in her by Thomas. These people do have a lot of power, and this is, it's very, very interesting.
If you go back and look at this from the very beginning, prior to the breakdown that Pavana had, you can see when she first got involved in this, everything was very, normal. She was creating some videos. Thomas was sharing some music behind the scenes with her to use in her videos and so forth. And as time progressed, you can literally see where basically she kind of went, over the edge, where they had pushed her over the edge, and things got kind of, strange, even in her posts and all of that. She even made a comment more than once to Thomas that she felt like she was hypnotized and they left her stuck there. Please help me get out of here, whatever. And she said, she asked him to please delete some comments that she made that, were kind of gibberish and so forth. And Thomas said, oh no, continue. They like it. They enjoy it. And he literally was trying to keep her in that state of psychosis. And it's very evident in the postings on YouTube, comments that she was making. And if you look at those things, you can see even when she was having a hard time with it, and you can tell by the comments, Thomas kept clicking the like button or the heart or whatever on her comment. And he was in the background, via emails telling her, no, they like it, they enjoy it, and was just pushing and just kept pushing.
Someone mentioned Thomas's father having connections to the medical industry. Whoever that was, if you're still here, can you elaborate on that just a little bit more?
His father was a psychiatrist, not his uncle was the head of the Heart Association, not his father.
Okay.
His father is a psychiatrist in California, and he worked at the state hospital and also in private practice. But he was also an Eastman School trained composer and musician before World War II. And when he came out of World War II, I think maybe because of what he'd gone through, because he actually did see action, then he became a psychiatrist.
Well, Thomas told my wife via emails that his father and her father were in the military and the Navy together in Norfolk, Virginia, and that his father got into psychiatry because of the things in the military. And he talked a lot about the MK Ultra and things of that nature.
So let's build on that a little bit more. Michael Aquino is also from the military. And this is, again, complete and pure speculation. Is it at all possible that maybe perhaps Thomas's uncle or Thomas's father was involved with Aquino whatsoever? Is there any data or anything that may... You don't think so?
No, Thomas told me once, he said that, well, this is what he told me, because, he lies a lot. But he said that the CIA used to dump MK Ultra victim soldiers off on his father, and his father hated the CIA. He hated the CIA because he used to treat some of these soldiers that had been, mind fucked by the military, by the and he called it MK Ultra.
A lot of the stuff that Thomas talks about when it comes to psychological warfare, I think some of it's right, but I think that a lot of the stuff when it comes to experiences of people that he knows are just largely bullshit. One thing that I've spent a lot of time in was investigating Project Stargate, and I know that Thomas says that he has connections to this stuff and such. Right. But the thing is, Thomas has never, ever mentioned the Psychotronic Universe document that proves that consciousness can be measured in relation to matter and energy, nor has he ever talked about, what the hell is the other one, the gateway process, which is where they were able to kind of tap into this conscious energy and be able to use it. for whatever means that they were choosing to use it for. So, and I mean, these things can also be complete disinformation because God knows what the CIA is really up to. But the thing is, Thomas never actually, when he was spinning his ridiculousness, he was never actually doing like he just wasn't a good job. Like he was never actually sourcing good material. He was kind of really just spurting out the occultist stuff, and he kind of wasn't really actually going into the Stargate aspect of this. He was never using the gateway process. He was never using the psychotronic universe.
Well, and the mind games went really deep. I mean, obviously, Pavana had, told Thomas during their conversations her father was in the military in Norfolk, Virginia for, 20 years, I believe. She grew up down there on military housing and so forth. But Thomas instilled so many crazy things into people's heads. He had told Pavana on more than one occasion, You'll get visited in your dreams tonight, and he basically made certain people to look evil and basically trying to put into her head that these people were going to get her in her sleep, kind of like a Freddy Krueger saga. It was unbelievable.
That's the power of suggestion right there. Actually, I had a request for everyone. Obviously, we put this as Truth or Mega Chat. I posted on my timeline and everything, shared this. Now, if anyone has connections to Unirock, Defango, Titus Frost, Lepo, all of these people, even Steve Outram, friggin' send it to Thomas, send it to anyone, because the whole thing is that...
Actually, I just sent it to a bunch of internet researchers that I said I may or may not be online right now talking to you. Yeah. So we just need some transparency. We need some truth seekers, and hopefully they understand where I'm coming from, and I think they do because of the rapport. But when we're talking about the Stephen Scott Fisk situation, Unirock did actually expose the connections on him on one of them. I can send the link and stuff, and you can watch it later. Mm-hmm. But he actually put together all the connections on what was going on with that whole situation. And, I don't agree with everything he does. I actually just had a conversation with a YouTuber creator over lunch this weekend. And, I was like, there were some things that I addressed with him that I did not agree with Uni on. Mm-hmm. And I don't agree with, certain pockets. But again, I am my own person. And I am not connected to Uni. I'm connected to me as a person and me trying to find the truth. And so don't ever label me as a uni rocker or things like that. It's more that I've reached out and people have reached out to me in that sense. But I'm looking at it going, I am my own person, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same for me. It's the same for everyone everybody here in this chat has been associated with other people, and it's really we are our own person.
Yeah.
And it's not us. It's not ourselves putting ourselves into category, but these other people, these gang stalkers, they say, "Oh, you're associated to this person, and you're that person," and it's like, no, I'm just myself.
Yeah.
And we've even sorted it out between us as well. Everyone that we come across is that no, I don't support everything that person says, and I in fact don't go to any YouTube chats anymore because I'm just so put off with everything now. I just see everything as just total rubbish.
Well, and my changing of the guard of thought process really had to do with Cappy passing. I'm still messed up. You got to realize, if you were in my shoes and you saw what happened to Cappy for a year, and you saw this guy ranting online, you're going, this guy's full of it. I know him.
Yeah.
I used to see him around town. He was in my friend's band. I know he's full of it. And when I asked his bandmate, like, what the hell is going on with Cappy? He goes, I don't know, ask him. I'm separating myself from his BS and his bad energy, is what my friend that I've known for 20 years said to me.
Again, going back to Q, they're trying to they're trying to promote this voice box, and then now all of it's turned into voice to skull technology, which again that pocket of
well, the YouTuber I just
values
talked to about the
trying to push it.
dues, man. Like over lunch, he's like, it would take millions of dollars for them, our American government, to power on a direct energy weapon. You really got. It's the same thing with the voice to skull implant technology. Now, mind you, if you're going through a psychotic break, you're going through some PTSD triggers, right? If something's triggering you, you're going to start hearing voices. You're going to start seeing things.
Well, that's it.
Yeah,
and
it's
then
a PTSD trigger. It has nothing to do with the freaking radio waves, man. Now, I'm not saying
Can you imagine
it couldn't happen.
as soon as you say to somebody, this technology exists and they're using it, and we know because we've been involved in MK Ultra, and we started this, and we're involved with the government, and we've got big lawyers, and all this business, bullshit they come out with, and then they persuade somebody that they're in the know, and then they say, yeah, they really do use it on people, and then think if you actually believe that, put yourself in that position where you say for a split second that you actually believe that exists. Can you imagine the paranoia?
No. You gotta realize, okay, this is where I'm coming from. Yes, I've had a psychotic break. And this was many, many, many years ago. This is outside the revenge porn thing. A roommate that accused me of doing drugs kicked me out. I had to be out in 8 hours. And I literally ran into him one day out walking outside my apartment. This is 2 years after the fact. And what happened was it triggered me into a psychosis where I was hearing voices. I was seeing things. And that's where you get into the occultism and the parasites. And I fully believe there is an other side of the world that's spiritual and things like that you can't describe because I experienced it. I had to work with a shaman to cleanse myself. And people think I'm crazy on this stuff, but I stopped hearing those goddamn voices once I worked with the freaking shaman on this stuff. And I can see how somebody easily that is thinking that they're a targeted individual or they had a post-traumatic stress trigger like I did could stem all this psychosis, if that makes sense. So I can see that side of them thinking, oh, I got direct energy weapons or microwaves attacking my head, because I experienced it. I experienced it for months, a good half year. I was losing my mind. I couldn't sleep. I would see things. I would hear voices, and it's happened to me 3 times in my life. And I've had to work through a lot of therapy to get through that. And, I'm not ashamed of what I've been through, but, I know it's a little crazy talk, but I can see how that crazy talk and that psychosis could happen, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that's just like, from my point of view, is I think they're trying to create these psychosis that normal people, everybody has a certain amount of chance of having a psychosis at least once in their life. It's nothing to be ashamed of at all.
Wait a second, guys. We have another new member into the chat besides Rook. Welcome, Crutchman.
Hi, Crutchman.
Welcome.
But just to finish off, is that they're actually inflicting this onto people, and so and
I can easily see why people would think that, or have these voices, because if you get that paranoid, which I got to, and I'll tell you guys, I never ever want anybody to ever get to that point where I got, and I hope to God I never get to that point. And I think those lessons many years ago, and why I'm here now, and I have whatever being shot at me, I'm not going to really, I've gone through a lot of therapy to me being here to say the stuff I'm saying about my revenge porn. I went through this thing called EMDR therapy, which is a godsend. No drugs. You have to work through CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, to actually do this. You have to have a trained professional, and it's not a fix-all. okay, so if you're going through traumatic, so somebody that's going through war, that would be an example of why you would want to go through it. Or if somebody that was raped, that would be another instance. And I considered the revenge porn a virtual rape. And before I went through EMDR, I would get triggered. Like, it just with the whole thing, if I ever had to talk about it, I would start crying. I'd be in a ball. And it is a legit thing. But, I mean, that was the godsend. And, I'm looking for another tune-up. But I'll say it's not perfect with that therapy, but it works on your eye movement. So the same kind of thing you have with REM for deep sleep, that's what the therapist will take you through. And I'm not saying it's for everyone, but if you've had PTSD, not the complex PTSD where you can't pinpoint your trauma, but if you can pinpoint it, like you were raped or war and you had to shoot somebody and kill them, that would be why you would want to use it. And so with the revenge porn, I thought it was virtual rape, and I still do. Yeah. There's my end wrap.
Yeah, and when I tried to warn people about Q and how dangerous it was getting, most people ignored the parallel group, the QNN group.
I didn't even know about that.
That's what I mean. It was it was only about a few hundred people in there at any one point instead of thousands on the Patriot soapbox.
Okay, guys.
So that's
so it's from those
second.
guys.
Clear talk chat. We have a special guest right now, Lestat.
Hi, Lestat.
Hi, Lestat.
Welcome, man.
Welcome.
Oh, by the way, I want to be the first one in this chat to say congratulations to you for the Able Danger channel. I felt kind of like you would do a hell of a lot better job with content and everything. I can't do what you do, bro. Like, that's simple. You're really gifted at what you do, so hats off.
I know. I'm super envious of him and use side of the Jedi mind man. That's all I gotta ask. I know he's a second English language learner, but use it for good. Listen.
Yes, use it for good, ma'am.
Thanks. That's the idea, and thanks for the good vibes and everything. I guess that at this point we can't really just be bullshitting or just we're all tired. I guess. I mean, in my case, I had enough, and the anxiety that one feels when you see that nothing is happening or that you're really not going anywhere with something, it's hard to deal. So this kind of relief, I guess that for everyone just feels like it was needed. Right? It feels like, oh man.
So Lestat, all I would recommend is you continue to do your content on your main channel, but any of the with the storylines and the stuff that you're working on truth of what's going on with all these topics, use that as a thing, and maybe you just test out everything on your initial channel, see how it works, and get some feedback that way, and then put it on the main channel, because you don't want to put out some BS or you don't want to put on some stuff that people are going to get confused about, and I see that when I see some of the comments.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the idea. Actually, it's gonna be like really graphic and easy to digest content, and basically we have to like start from zero and even be engaging.
You got to realize that I've talked to my with Cappy, and they cannot wrap their minds around any of this stuff. So we have to start with baby steps with everyone, because they're not going to get it. They are not going to get it. They're not going to understand what we're talking about. And that's not them. I've had research to deal with, and my friend is just mind blown that Cappy stayed at his house in New Mexico. He's like, you really know what's going on, but I can't wrap my mind around it. And he's an IT guy. This guy knows stuff. He's still confused.
You can't explain them. It's something that it's basically a two year, maybe 2.5 year storyline that it's convoluted intentionally. Intentionally, it's confusing. Intentionally, you have counter narratives and stuff to be able to just maybe lay it down. It's been complicated. talking like this and making the live streams have helped a lot in maybe getting better at explaining it. So that's the idea. Yeah, we have to baby steps and again, I don't like it personally, but the engaging.
Yeah, but you got to realize anybody that is not up to speed with this story is not going to get it. So really, I mean, I was telling you about storyboarding and stuff, and I'll send you some stuff for you because this is what I do for a living. If anybody is curious, I build videos for a living. This is what I do. I could build a video any day and just own a person. But I don't really want to use that. I am actually working with helping people with disabilities, helping people in need. And my main thing is storyboarding, stuff looked at, outline on things. I think it'll help. And then if you ever run by some ideas, you're like, okay, this is what I'm thinking, because you're an amazingly talented. We still need to do some stuff. It's really, I mean, I honestly need to sit there with you, or at least, you know what, just do the recorded stuff like I was talking about, like an intro. How do you do it? That's really, I think, for anybody that's interested in getting into app, beneficial because, I just need.
You could do a live. You could both do a live stream on it. I mean, it'd be beneficial. The more people speaking out, then
Sharing
the less
is caring.
people. Yeah. The more
sharing
people
is
can
caring.
carry the weight.
Yeah, but I mean, like I feed on After, and anybody that has tried to After Effects, it is a pain. And so I understand Adobe products, but I'm gonna sit there going, I don't want to learn it. I can get paid to learn stuff, but I don't. And so I literally, because I mean the software I use is so much easier. I can build an intro and animate for me. I can do like words on the screen, like all that stuff. It's amazing. But what you have is a gift, Lestat, and you know what? You should sell your templates, man, on After Effects. I think that would help, because anybody that is like me, that's like, I'm lazy. I don't want to figure it out. That's why stuff I'm working on outside of that program is to start selling my product. My coach was telling me that today, because I'm building a Jeopardy game.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that's an excellent idea. Actually, I was thinking about it. Maybe it would be a good idea to make a template, but to a template that would help like reports and stuff. Where you can put the video or the image that you want to show, and you can set it up so it's easy to figure out how to just put your voice on top of it.
Yeah, we can talk about that for the audience. So, I mean, yeah, we'll talk later about that. I'll
Can
get
I
you on
just go off
Discord
real
or whatever.
fast?
Yeah, you can. Go ahead.
Okay, I just want to say, Lestat, since you're here, there's going to be, and there has been, accusations that it's a gang stalking channel. And I just really need to point out that if it's nonsense. Showing the words of the person in black and white is not gang stalking. When you've got all of this evidence, that it's like saying that the girls that went to court today that were all victims of Epstein are just bullying and gang stalking Epstein and Dershowitz.
Exactly.
Or that all of the Me Too women shouldn't be speaking out together independently because of what happened to them, because then they're gang stalking the person that, the perpetrator. So that
I have a funny, weird story about
time.
Rose McGowan. I met 4 years almost to the day. And ironically, I gave her a ride. And this is serendipity. And I think this is another with you guys, is I looked at her and I tripped out when I saw it was her. I was like, oh, it's Rose McGowan. I love you. Because I was like, who are you calling out online about the push-up bras, dude? And sexism in Hollywood. And she needed an Uber ride, right? And I'm like, we're going to the fast. Are you going to the fast? And then at the time, I didn't know it was. And she put them, she was putting the GPS of where she was going. And I did that double take of, crap, that's Rose McGowan. I love you. And I was like, hi, I'm so-and-so. Hi, I'm Rose. I was like, get in my car. And so I had her in my car, and you have that moment where you're like, I have Rose McGowan in my car. And this is before she blew up Hollywood. Okay, this is crazy story. I'm going to put it in my book on cyberbullying and bullying. Because I looked at her at one point when I go, who are you calling out that rhymes with? I couldn't remember the man in Panhandle. And she goes, moment of silence. She goes, Adam Sandler. And I started busting up laughing. He had a cast thing. And I go and I look at her, and I'm in the car. I have a photo with her. Okay, I can prove it. I'm not going to show it on social media out of respect towards her, and then privacy for me. And I go, keep doing the things you're doing. You have the voice platform. I think it's just funny, like you calling out like Hollywood and stuff. And then a year later, my mouth is dropping, going, where I hear her on an interview go, I do this because I have the voice and the platform. Because what happened in this takeaway, you never know who's going to get in. Detail it. Because I picked up my girlfriend at LAX, and she's like, you need to detail your car. I'm like, it's a Subaru. And so I'm in the car with her, and I go, so the takeaway is detail your car. And the takeaway is you never know who you're going to meet. And you never know how that world lied. And the fact is, I can sit there going, she's a badass bitch. She blew up the Hollywood movement on Harvey Weinstein and shit. And she seriously got stalked by Mossad and Harvey Weinstein. So food for thought on this situation is, yes, I have that proof. And yes, we are on a mission and we are on a path that has led me and you all together. And I'm not saying this in a narcissistic way. I just go, that's a weird moment in my life, but that's badass.
Well, a lot of people do state there is no coincidence and everything like that. So, who knows? You know, maybe just maybe certain people come together at the right time, right place.
Yeah.
It remains to be seen. It really does remain to be seen.
Oh, and just before I forget, I wanted to comment on something that you guys were talking about earlier, and regarding Cappy and the connections and stuff. Just there's something that I just wanted to remind that, well, I've talked about this several times, but first of all, just remember the real reason Cappy was brought into scene, and it was not to call out pedophiles. No, it was to blow up Q.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now
yeah, because
go ahead. Sorry.
He was a Q-nut, for sure. But my theory of what happened and why he got famous, and Diligent, that's in the live chat, he had a similar theory about some of the stuff. But when I saw this all occur with Cappy and me going, I know that guy. I'm seeing him ranting. What? And I've actually spoke to Seth Green's family friend, Claire Green's friend from a child. And he's the one that woke me up to who Cappy was, because I couldn't remember who the hell he was. So why does he look familiar? And then it dawned on me. And so I talked to the family friend of Seth Green, and I'm also trying to help them heal too, if that makes sense, because they got their names slandered pretty bad. Now, I'm not saying that pedophilia doesn't happen in Hollywood, and I did have a conversation with the person that is connected to Seth Green. But he actually gave me some really insightful things on like Illuminati and Albert Pike, and we had some really good conversations about all this stuff. But what happened was, I really truly feel that what happened was Cappy strangled Michael Jackson's daughter, Paris Jackson. And he started to get really into the conspiracies, and that's why calling out Seth Green, and then got linked up with whatever group it was with Lift the Veil, which I think is the gatekeeper with a lot of this stuff and all this stuff. I mean, I feel that initially Cappy was trying to put the heat off of the fact that he strangled Paris Jackson because he was successful. I mean, you gotta realize, my perception of Cappy back in the day was he's weird as fuck. Like, I would sit there and go, I don't want to talk to this guy. He's weird. And then just by chance, my friend made a band. And that's how my freaking life has collided into this shit show.
Okay, yeah, but just remember that there's an aspect of that that nobody really talks about, because it's not encouraged, and it's maybe not even interesting. But just remember, there is a market. There's an industry of whistleblowers.
Yeah.
That industry of whistleblowers not manages and manages and publishes whatever this whistleblower comes up with. it's a market because you can get as famous as WikiLeaks, as you know, who knows if that new leaker is the next Chelsea Manning, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now, there's this guy called Trevor Fitzgibbons.
Yeah, I keep hearing his name. Send us some info on that because I'm curious because I don't know how this connects. Do you have videos on that?
Yeah, there's a lot. There's one that's named AstroTurfing WikiLeaks. There's another one called Trevor Fitzgibbons, and I made maybe almost 3 or 4 live streams that I've talked about him because he's deeply involved in a way that he was a member. He was an associate within Chatterbox, so that connects him directly to Thomas, to the Fango, and to Stephen Biss.
Okay.
Not only that Stephen Biss represented Trevor Fitzgibbon.
Okay, so there is that Stephen connection with him.
Not only that, Trevor Fitzgibbon was also a close friend of the Fango. The Fango mentioned him a lot of times, and not to mention again, he was an associate. That would mean that they hold responsibilities. That just shows the amount of trust that it has to be to get into a business with somebody. Yeah. Now, Trevor Fitzgibbon was public relations for Chelsea Manning, for WikiLeaks, for Julian Assange, for Venezuela.
So I have a question. Like, this stuff keeps connecting to the WikiLeaks stuff, which I am like, I've literally, okay, this is my perception, and this is just me talking to you randomly on the internet. And these, maybe you can clear this up for me, or what your perceptions are, because these are all perceptions. When I say the things I'm saying about Cappy, that is a perception. This is my truth I'm speaking, okay? And so with the wiki thing, with the WikiLeaks, I really think it's really suspect that it came out right before the elections. And I read those emails. I was like, I am not voting for either candidate. I'm going third party this year because it's going to go to Hillary no matter what. Because I knew that state I was in was going to go to Hillary. And so I didn't have a question in my mind about voting third party because I didn't like either candidate. So whatever. But in the process, it really did change our election here in the state. And I know you're in Mexico. And so how does this play out, man? Because, I mean, I know that there's the Russian connection, but I really think there's more of the Nunes connection. I think something happened with that and the Stephen Bess, and then you got the Ed Bataski. Now that I'm looking at that, and maybe my mind has been Psyops. I don't know.
Well, all of our minds have, we all have been Psyops at one point. Either, if not, we wouldn't be here. But that's the thing. You have to, once again, Trevor Fitzgibbon, and I know that people's going to start like, you're obsessed with him, but no. The thing is... No,
I thought you were obsessed with Thomas this time. You seriously, and now after Cappy dying, I'm like, it starts to make more sense, if that makes sense. And that's why it's such a mess when people are trying to like figure this out, because people may jump into this chat right now and have no idea what we're talking about. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it's hard sometimes to begin explaining from the start and stuff, but that's the thing, and that's something that we have to transcend. You know, we have to keep on going, and at time build videos that are going to build as basis. You know, people can watch this afterward. Yeah. The thing is that this person, Trevor Fitzgibbon, had a sexual charge against him. His PR firm, Trevor Fitzgibbon Media, 11 of his employees reported that they were abused or harassed at one point by the same guy. One person took this to court. It was this lady. I forgot her name. Damn! And then she just sent me a cool message.
Raddick.
Raddick. Jessalyn Raddick. Exactly. Thanks, Jessalyn. She was the one that took it. Now, the thing is that the charges were magically dropped. Just the case was dropped, like, boom, suddenly. Now, he alleged that she was kind of harassing him, and so at the end, she even ended up asking for an apology. Now, I showed her the evidence, and this I've already talked out, that Trevor used Fox to attack her and to trigger her. And she already has the evidence for her to defend, because he took her again to another lawsuit just maybe less than a month ago, while this whole thing was going on. Now, Trevor Fitzgibbon has this, if you look at him in his history, you will see that when he was representing Chelsea Manning, and Manning was in prison, he was the one using Manning's Twitter and posting as her. Okay, no.
Wait. So Trevor Fitzgibbons was posing as Chelsea Manning on Twitter?
Yes, he
Whoa.
did. He did this thing with Julian Assange. And
so he was teamed up with Julian Assange? So is Julian Assange the bad guy or the good guy? Or like he's 50-50 good?
At this point, it appears that he's a victim in any way, either good or bad. He's in jail. You know, it's not a nice place to be, not having your liberty. And so,
because something brought up in chat, guys. This been brought up a couple times, Lestat, is that people are asking about Vinny and how is it that he can come from Thomas's group back into your chat and everything and get a wrench. I guess it's been bothering people.
You also came from Thomas' group.
He just threatened me on YouTube with violence. I kid you not. I have the screenshot.
Listen,
need to be very
did you
careful.
just say that I was also a part of Thomas's group?
I was also part of Thomas' group.
Yeah, we at some point was, but the whole thing is that he switched sides several times. You know, he's kind of back and forth. Be careful with that, all I'm saying.
Most of you guys did also, and I'm okay with it. Okay, if I put him, that's my responsibility. If you guys have a problem with him, deal it with them. Don't come to me.
Gotcha. We're not.
No, I'm not pointing out anything.
We're just saying our truth on that situation.
I understand, but I can't. I don't have any control on him. Or I mean, it's this problem. I mean, I understand it, but I have made my assessment and my decision that you know what, I'm cool with him, and I decided to give him a wrench. That for me, it's basically not much of a relevance. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I invite you to talk to him. He's a cool guy.
Yeah, I've talked to him, but he talks about a lot of kind of zany stuff whenever I try to talk to him that I can't really follow.
We all talk about zany stuff.
Yeah, we all do, dude. Don't judge that.
No, it's like the stuff he talks about, I just don't follow it. You know, it's like, it's kind of like how I would look at Spanish. I don't know how to speak Spanish, so it's like,
Poquito español, lo siento.
It's okay to not agree on stuff. It's okay not to agree.
It is. I totally agree.
Lestat, I just go, I'm effed. Like, my mom speaks Spanish, my grandfather, we all think he was CIA. Like, he has a PhD in Spanish, I kid you not. He wrote it on Costa Rica in Spanish. But I don't know Spanish. My mom will watch telenovela, I kid you not, and she'll be ironing and watching it. And I'm like, you did not teach me a lick of Spanish, because I've been to Spain and I've been to Guatemala, and I'm literally screwed when I go to those countries, any Spanish-speaking country. But they like me because
you know how to say the right things on Spanish.
Yeah, that's all you have to do. You don't have to be an idiot. That's the problem with they go to these, they just think that they have to adapt to American culture. No, you adapt to the culture you're in, man. You might get, depending on where you're at. And that's the thing is, there was one time I forgot, I couldn't lock the bathroom or something. I was in Barcelona at this pub, and this lady opens the door and goes, "Ay, caramba!" I go.
It's just funny when English people say those kind of words. It's just adorable.
Well, I go lo siento, and then when I'm in mi despache. I'm so sorry. I suck in Italian. But I fuck up my Italian and Spanish all the time.
Is one mentioning the English language by chance?
Well, the Brits don't get my English. British friend in Yorkshire, she's just like, I don't understand you.
Yes, sir. Why don't you speak in posh all the time?
He's posh, dude. Totally posh.
I could do, but that would be against my nature because I'm not posh. Okay.
Aw, we're not posh. I mean, dude, I have a Jamiroquai out there in London. I just want my dance battle, and he knows I'm that girl who wants to dance battle him. But I'm not that stalker from Australia that went and stalked Jamiroquai. He's a kick-ass dancer, I'm telling you.
But going back to what Stat was saying about this WikiLeaks, do you think that someone was pretending to be WikiLeaks then?
Absolutely. In a way that, just remember, you don't know who is behind the account. The same way that we saw that they did with the Obama account. Remember, the first person that Obama added when he opened up Twitter is this account called Victory of the Light. If you see what Victory of the Light posts, it's disturbing.
Conspiracy,
and
Victory of the LARP, my friend. That's how Reddit knows him, at least. Victory of the LARP. By the way, Lestat, if I may just push you on something that you had said before. You said that Trevor Fitzgibbon was in control of a couple specific Twitter accounts. How is it you came about that information? Is there any way that you can source that here in chat, or is there any way that you could speak upon that?
I can show, I have, well, it's not that I have the evidence of him like posting it and stuff, because it would be something that hard, but it's a known practice that he did, and several people called him out from his firm. So yeah, I'll post the evidence there in the Discord. I just gotta find it. But anyway, it's posted in the videos AstroTurfing WikiLeaks, I think, in the number 2. And I'm sure that in several live streams I put it. But I'll try to find it.
Yeah, definitely, please, whatever you can source from any kind of information like that, please post that. And I mean it with no disrespect whatsoever, but your videos tend to be very long form. And
I know that there have to be more. Yeah.
And it's no criticism against your work, man. You put a lot of information together, and that's no critical analysis of your work whatsoever. But if you could, any of those claims, if you could just source any of it, like for example, and I'm not trying to prove you wrong, anything. Just take what I'm saying at face value, because that's merely what it is. By the way, it's Young Atlas. This is the voice. I know I'm Hail Hialeah on this. I'm Young Atlas on Twitter.
Oh, okay.
You know who I am.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So, what is it that leads you to believe that he was posting on those Twitters? Did you hear it word of mouth? Did you hear it through his law firm? Where was it you heard that?
No, there were several Twitter posts on that time. There were the posts in by themselves, like topics, and even so. But you know what? I'm paraphrasing. Let me look for them, and I'll tell you in a moment. I don't want to sound stupid or something once I find it, but they're here. Don't worry. Give me just.
I got you, man.
But anyway, but I was just getting to the point that the David Brock picture, and once again, the market for whistleblowers and for getting them first. And just remember how much, like after Cappy, how many whistleblowers came out with the same topic, and I mean, creating a scene or a scandalous claim, once again, to get media attention, to in fact give another message. It's something that it's typical in the PR field. You know, the outrageous claim was that Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg, I mean, he aimed at the highest of the echelons on Hollywood to get the most attention. And also, I mean, because he went for Spielberg, his friend Seth, and so on and so forth. But 2 days after, we had QAnon blew up on every single media outlet. And attached to those stories were the Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg in most cases. But the fact is that in times where every media outlet was looking for something to post about Trump, it was a perfect it was a perfect, article piece.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I tell you that, don't forget the picture that Cappy took with David Rock almost before he left to Australia. Just don't forget that Robert David Steele, that Thomas, that Trevor Fitzgibbon, and Roger Stone, Horsey, QAnon, and right behind them, I'm sure that by that point even Flynn might have already been involved. We're in communications, and we're actively pushing this whole conspiracy. Okay, that's by this point, it's without a doubt that they were intimately connected. Be a lawyer, be a Defango, be a QAnon. I mean, and that's the problem when you get someone believing that something was going to happen, because he really did believe at the end of his last dream, at least, that QAnon was real, that real change was happening, and he was waiting for it to happen on the July 4th. You know, that's when you get vulnerable people to do stupid things like shoot in public and shit like that. When you get people indoctrinated to the point that they believe that when he said, I might come back, or who knows, he was not talking about making another stream. He was talking about reincarnation. Because what Cappy was posting, he was posting all about that dark to light stuff and things like that. He was into that. That's why he went to Australia and met Fiona Barnett. Because I mean, he was already being taken care of. He was going straight to the ITNJ.
Yeah,
and maybe for that part, the last part, I don't have any evidence. But what else could he have been doing there? And then going to Fiona Barnett, and something happened there was a decisive that broke up that opportunity.
I really think something did happen in Australia. What they all connect, Fiona and all of them, they all connect. Keep saying that. But I really think you can see Cappy's mindset, or how he looked when he got over to LAX. He looked like he had gotten beat down mentally. It was the craziest thing I ever saw, and you could see that something was painting in him, and you could see that he wanted to speak some truth, but he could never get it out. What was really concerning to me, did you ever notice this, Lestat? Did you ever go onto his Instagram? He had a ton of photos on his Instagram, and then he didn't, and there's that suicide note. It was the craziest thing I'd ever seen, because I'd been monitoring him. Yeah, I'll tell you right now, I did troll Cappy because I knew him. I was like, you're full of it. Like, stop doing this. Go see your family. Go make peace with your friends that really do care about you. That was all I wanted. I wanted him to just to make right. And when I saw his last video stream, I swear I thought he was in. And then he died, and I literally stepped back, and I was in my office chair at the time, and I saw the news article, and I had to break the news to his bandmate. It was the craziest thing, but I saw what happened to Fiona, and when I got asked to research Fiona, that is a cluster too onto itself. Is that these psyops, these people that have been doing all these things, is psychological, and she has a major in psychology. She knows what she's doing. That crazy, that runs Twitch.
That's what I was gonna tell you. You know what? I think this might again. She is the main indoctrinator.
Yeah, she was like the hand of everything.
Exactly.
It's so sick, man. I'm like, I need to smoke a lot. Because this is cray-cray.
That's why
you literally have to have some sense of humor with all this stupid thing. You really have to. I want you guys to all know that, yeah, we've been victims. A lot of us have been victims of whatever. Mine comes from years of revenge porn. But I'll tell you right now, that you have to have humor with all of this. Like, you can't take it too seriously because you can get obsessed. And I know I get obsessed sometimes. And I know Lestat gets obsessed. And I know Jet gets obsessed. We all get obsessed because we've been victims of this. And we want the truth to prevail and be like having a better world. And I just want a better world for my friends' kids' generation. You know, this is what I told Cappy's family, is that I want Cappy's brother to, oh God, this is some truth. I just want his child, Cappy, Isaac's nephew, or I think niece, I don't know, man. I've only talked to him a moment, right, on the phone, but I do talk. I just want his kid to have a better life in social media. Like, that's my concern, is I just want his kid. And so when I actually finish this book on cyber deviance, bullying, and I will talk to people and I'll try to figure out what I'm doing with getting people's I'm not going to accept any money from this. The money that is accepted by donation is going to go straight to a foundation to help with education on cyberbullying and deviance. That is, I was talking to my this is what I want to do, is education. And I have the means to connect to other cyberbullying educators and foundations to get this word out. But I did write the family, and I said, this is what's going to happen. And if anybody ever donates to me, it's to get new equipment or whatever. But that's besides, it's all going towards the family. I'm gonna either set up a 501c, which is a nonprofit, but I'll work closely with the Cappy family to make sure this never happens, or somebody like their brother becomes the spotlight and become a situation.
Well, right now, I guess the best way to make sure it doesn't happen is take out the people that make it happen.
Yeah. And that's why, you know, having us speak up and step up and say this is not appropriate and we put our foot down is going to be one way. But I will be damned. Because, you know, when you read the suicide note of Cappy and he's like, person, and everybody's going to think I'm horrible after this whole situation. You know, my friends that actually know him for 2 decades, for 20 years, what are they going to expect? They don't know the whole back. He got wrapped up in some crazy stuff happened, and you know, he was a victim. They preyed on him when he was alive. They used him. They freaking used him. And I think he was pretty back when I knew him. Okay, don't get me wrong. Don't ever mistake the wacko that he was. Okay, but I never wanted to see him die. I always wanted to see him get help because I knew he was bipolar, and his brother never denied that to me when I talked to him. Oh, and it is a really sad when you look at the Cappy situation. And I'm not saying it that, and I'm to that, but you look at Jesse's wife, you look at a lot of the victims that are either in this Discord chat right now that are listening. Look at the situation. You look at your situation, Lestat, on what you've dealt with. Well, you know, we've all, some way, shape, or form, and bullying. And how do we combat that? How do we say, and how do we create that dialogue? And that's why I'm saying something tonight, is because we have to say something. We have to say this because we want, you know, Cappy's nephew, niece to grow up in a.
I totally agree. But did you guys ever saw that video that some guy put out where he talks to this homeless kid? It appears, well, not so much of a kid, but where he talks about gang stalking and how they get paid, how they drive people to suicide and they get paid on Walmart gift cards.
No, didn't see that.
And that there's an app that they download where the app is disguised as they have to find books. It's called something like Hire a Troll or something like that. I put out the.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Can you post that later for us? Because I really want to see that later, and I'm busy with life.
That was a good
I
stream.
would like to see that.
Yeah, sure. It was. We actually talked about the Wanda LARP, something that happened.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Now,
Yeah,
hey, guys.
that one, because it was impressive to see that at that moment when we were live streaming, we got sent a LARP of, I mean, a guy with the same stories as everyone that he was. I mean, it's crazy. You guys got to see it if you haven't. Let me see if it's open there.
Hey guys, I'm going to have to wrap this up. It's almost midnight here over where I'm at and everything. We've been streaming for a total of basically like 3 hours 30 minutes. Now I want to start doing this weekly. I'll put out a post for basically open stream chats and everything. I'll decide the day in the next several days. If you guys have any closing statements and or anything, right now would probably be the time to say them. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I just wanted to
We'll
say hi.
speak in this.
I was just gonna say good night and thanks for this stream and this opportunity, and you know, just don't give up. We're advancing, and you know, like he said, like they love to say, a reckoning is coming. So yeah, catch you guys later.
Okay, bye.
Thanks, Lestat.
Love you
Thank
there,
you.
Lestat. I don't know why Vinny's got such a problem with me and is trying to mute me in your channel, but you have a good night.
Okay, you too, man. Bye.
All right. Anyone else have anything to say?
Yeah, Bobby. I just wanted to say that I think using this forum as like a self-help group, you know, I mean, that people can find a place to talk to people. That's kind of all I wanted to say.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking about, is that it seems like a lot of people have been affected by this, and I think that it would be healthy if people actually came together in a safe, private channel, you know, to the point where it's like, it's open, but we're all friggin' human. We're not gonna friggin' attack each other, you know? And just listen to stories. Talk about stuff that you're passionate about.
It's much easier to put it out verbally, at least in my case, than it is to sit and try to type it all in chats, because I'm one of them people that, you know, pokes the keyboard with one finger from each hand.
Well, literally though, guys, this has been a great stream. We had a bunch of people show up that I didn't even figure would show up. Like Atlas, young Atlas, I haven't talked to him in a long time, man. Just, so.
It's always a pleasure, friends. And if I just may, one thing I had said sort of when I had come in was, when we're disseminating information, we need to be very clear about when we're speculating and when we're disseminating facts, and that we all need to make sure that even though we may be altruistic, I guess, in intention, that we must never ever use righteousness as a weapon. I'm not finger pointing at anyone or anything, but I think we all know what I'm talking about here. You know, I mean, there's a difference between, you know, speaking, you know, truth into power and slandering people when they're just evil. You know, there's a major difference between slander and speaking truth to power. And I just hope that we can all recognize that difference, and we all, you know, we all really have a responsibility when we're on a platform and we're disseminating information. So I just hope that everybody, you know, really accepts that responsibility and understands that, you know, this dissemination of information is extremely important, and that we all are very responsible in all of our endeavors in that. So,
that was very
and
well
thank
said.
you, by the way, for having me.
Thanks, young Atlas.
Thank you. That was amazing. And I
Well,
got
thank you.
too. So, but I definitely, I just, you know, there is no there is speculation because, you know, I mean, this is just who I am, and I thank you for letting me babble. Like,
no, you're totally
I mean,
fine.
There's just a lot that I've built up over the year, and I'm glad you're doing this platform, because I think a lot of us need it. And me as somebody that's searching cyberbullying, and I'll tell you guys that just every time you see something, don't respond. reach out to, you know, who you need to reach out to help and assist when you see somebody that is gang stalking another person. Just speaking up when you see something wrong. You know, because we're dealing with people that will go on the attack, and it is very concerning. And, you know, just think about, you know, if you don't have kids, you have kids, think about their generation and what you want to bring in. And do you want to bring this poison in, or do you want to bring in positivity, saying, okay, well, the innocent bystander, but am I going to say, and you don't even say it online. You don't even have to speak it. Some of us, like myself, I would speak up because I really I've gone through the gambit with being abused, and I've learned from that. But I've taken those to get to places like London and Facebook, where I was Team USA, and I can say that, and I want to be supportive of all of you that are going through this right now, because I've been through it, and it's weird that I you know, my life would collapse, you know, with all of you. That any random, I wasn't even with him. I was an acquaintance. You gotta realize, I know how tall he is. I've seen him in person. Like, it's just a weird, bizarre thing that I have to talk to friends about this situation, and he's just one of many victims of not just this group, right? We're talking about all that go and commit suicide, or, you know, go through psychosis for hearing voice, they're saying something, and, you know, it's for the children too, in that, because I care about the kids, this process, or kids that are, you know, I work with special needs kids, and seeing they don't really understand how to filter and like see what people's reactions and things like that, that we have to stand up as a human race here in, you know, the States or wherever we're at. And, you know, maybe it's England, you know, Jad, but it's really, you know, Jet, I'll actually get you linked up with the enabled people if you're close to London. They're the EUN, but they're doing some amazing things on your site. We'll talk later about that, but thank you for this platform, Bobby.
No problem.
Much love.
No problem. Much love
Thanks,
to you
Benny.
as well. Thank you very much, Jethro, for coming through. You
And
totally surprised
yeah,
me.
I just want to do it to educate people, to keep people safe, and to have everybody supported. Really, that's all I want to do. I mean, I've only produced one video. I don't want to build my channel up. I don't want to be famous. I just want people to be safe online, so that we don't get all of our rights taken away. And it's amazing the amount of humanity that's been in this chat tonight. I'm really, really thankful that you guys have been a part of tonight's stream. And Penny, if you link me up with some resources, that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't live in London on Wednesdays. On Thursday. On
I'll
Thursdays.
get you the enabled
On Thursdays. I'm quite international, because on Thursday I'm 21 and I live in Paris.
Dang it, you're going to invite me out to...
I'm 45.
I got my passport. Let's go party in Paris.
On Fridays I'm 45 and I live in Germany. And
dang it.
On Saturdays I actually live in America.
Damn it, let's go to Berlin.
But
I'll just list out every city I want to visit, okay?
Bye for now, guys.
All right. Well, you have a good night, Jethro. Diane, thank you very much for stopping by. Same with you, Jesse. Like I said, is I will pick a day next week, and we'll do this again. And hopefully next time we'll get more people in here. And throughout the week, just talk to people and state that I'm going to start doing this. And if they want to take part in it, they're more than welcome. All right?
Yes, and Bobby, I'd actually be interested in creating a separate endeavor in which anyone here is welcome to join, where we do a couple of document dives on WikiLeaks and actually on some of the stuff pertaining to this. I think that that would actually be very helpful, and it would push the truth community back in a place where they're actually researching what they're here for in the first place, and not just dealing with this absolute madness, which I'm sorry everyone here has been personally involved in. That really breaks my heart to see. I'm scrolling up and down this Discord chat right now, and I'm seeing how many people have been involved, and it just really breaks my heart. I'm sorry that you guys have been involved, and maybe we could turn around this truth community, we can meet again, and we could start disseminating some real information and really starting to fix things.
Well, you were a part of the Facebook group that I ran with how we approached the puzzle, and you saw how I did that. So I have no problem jumping into a group that's like that. I enjoy looking into stuff and studying stuff. Probably would be good to get away from a lot of things. So just hit me up, as well as I'm pretty sure there's people in this chat that would be interested. So hit up Atlas, guys, and if you want to work together on something cool, let them know.
And if anybody has any interest or is interested in trying to find any documents, I'm pretty obsessive compulsive, so if there's anything that you're trying to find, if you could give me at least a couple keywords. I love doing document dives. I love pretty much like diving into large projects and whatnot. So if there's anything of interest that you're trying to get some information on, hit me up. I'd be happy to help you guys.
Nope. Oh, welcome back, Ezekiel. Yeah. Welcome back, Ezekiel. I don't know if you're going to be flagging up or not, but whole thing is that it's nice to see you.
All right, guys, I'm gonna cut out of here, but it's actually been a good stream. Like I said, I don't normally do streams, and haven't been involved in too many other than just some things in the chat. But a lot of information tonight, a lot of chatting with people, and everybody just try to stay safe.
No, same thing. If anyone ever needs to talk to anyone, I'm open for conversation. You guys have my Twitter, all that stuff. Don't be a stranger. Even if you just want to talk about random BS and get your mind off stuff, I'm going to tell you this right now, is that if we have any gamers in the community, like honestly, I've played every single MMORPG that's on the market, as well as in other countries. So I'm a big, huge MMORPG fan, I'll start playing some Star Wars Galaxies with people, some freaking City of Heroes or Black Desert. I've even started streaming that on PS4. So if any of you guys have a game that you like or want to get into any games and start a little gaming group, let me know. It'd be actually cool. Stress relief, man. You have no idea. But you guys, thank you once again, all of you that showed up. I'm gonna go and jump off of here, close down the stream, and like I said, I will see you next week with this type of stream yet again, and we'll go deeper and deeper into each other's stories. And the people that are in here, if you come back, you know something? Look at the community. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Write down questions you want to ask people that are in this stream, It doesn't matter. It's like me asking Lestat about Vinny and everything. Like, it kind of agitated him a little bit, it seemed. But the thing is that it was a harmless question. And we need to learn how to get past that fear of asking questions like that. Does that make sense, guys?
Yep, no fear.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, no fear. Should be no fear in asking questions. Like, if you guys ever question me at any single time, you come and literally talk to me, And if I can answer something, I'm going to answer it. It's simple. And yes, I can leave the Discord open. Whole thing is that I think that maybe once a day, I'll start with once a day, or twice a day, I'll put like a 6-hour link up, just so we don't get trolled and freaking huge bot attacks and shit, because that's happened before. I had to fix that in the old Discord server. But, yeah, I can leave this open, and everyone can talk here. And like I said, anyone is welcome here. So just be mindful that, say if Lepo comes in here, guys, he's welcome here. If Thomas wants to come in here, he's freaking welcome here too. This is a Discord that's middle ground, and it's open to everyone. So play nice, freaking, that's it. We're just gonna vote people out if they freaking get out of line. Does that sound good?
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good to me.
So consider
Aye,
this
King
an
Arthur.
opening. Oh man, why are you calling me King Arthur, bro?
It was good times, man.
No, it was good times. It was.
I was lurking back then, but it was good times.
You know, we taught a lot of people a lot of things, man. And you know what? That group was probably the best Cicada group I've actually seen put together. And one day, I'm going to tell you this, I will recreate that type of group. And it won't be dedicated to puzzles. It'll be dedicated towards real life issues. You know? That's what I think everyone around here like came together to do, is change the world in a little way. We all have different skills. Start utilizing them and change the world, man. Make sense? Yeah. But alright guys, much love. If I'm gonna end up making a text chat channel, if you want to sign up for being a moderator in this Discord, I will ask certain questions, everything like that, make up kind of a little application type deal to make sure that people actually want to help people and everything, and we'll turn this into the channel dedicated to these weekly streams. Alright, and that's exactly what this Discord is. Dedicated to our weekly streams. But yeah, and welcome Diligent Escape. You see that you joined at the end. But alright guys, much love, have fun talking in Discord. And you all sleep well, alright? Thank you for coming out.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
I like to sing, dance, pretend, and I like to have fun. Love you. Let's go over here. Just you and me. Come on. I just wanted to say,
Can we do more kazoo?
you're my special friend. I like to sing,